Chapter 26. I was walking through a certain hallway leading to the receptionist of the 200th floor of Heaven's Arena. I handed the receptionist my identification card that was given when I first came to Heaven's Arena. "I want to challenge a floor master," I said directly, not giving her a chance to say any useless formalities. She looked stunned for a second before she took the ID, looked at it for a while before asking me. "Yasuo, 10 continuous victories. You've been awarded the right to challenge a floor master. You can challenge any floor master from the 230th to the 250th floor. The date for the match will be scheduled a month later. Also, which floor master would you like to challenge?" "Floor master of the 247th floor." She looked surprised, though she still filled the form before handing me back my ID. "This certain floor master is among the strongest of the bunch. It will surely be an interesting fight as he has an interesting ability. A speed-based ability. According to my observation, it should be a transmutation ability, as he transmutes his aura to mimic a certain device, and his compatibility with the ability is quite high considering how far he took it. Anyway, I went back home while not forgetting to buy food on my way. I made sure to eat as much as I can once I reached the house. Then I sat down on the bed in a meditative position and closed my eyes. I didn't move for about an hour. All I did is clearing my thoughts while getting to my top concentration. It's time to finally make my specialist ability. Nen ability's creation is a manifestation of the mind and will. The more complicated the ability, the more visualization the person has to do, except a few special cases such as specialists whose abilities were created naturally as per their desires. It took me about 2 months to create my enhancement ability, even though the ability is something I planned for years and visualized constantly. So I thought it wouldn't take long, but my previous low compatibility with enhancement made it much harder for me to create it, especially with the complexity of my ability. I extended my N while visualizing creating a domain where I can sense everything. A domain where I can control everything I can sense. A domain where I'm the absolute control. As my N reached its maximum range, which is close to a 200 meters radius, it slowly began to shrink until my N shrunk back to about 25 meters radius, where it stabilized for a long amount of time while I still visualized what I want my domain to be like. My N remained in the same state for a while, though what's changing is my perception of my N. Usually, it's quite vague. I can clearly feel the shape of things, especially when there is a movement in my N, though I was never able to get it anywhere near Miriam's level. Also, I can never sense anything my N can't go into, even if it's within my range. I can feel the outside shape of things, nothing more. Now, I can feel everything within the 25 meters range. It's like I can see everything in black and white. I can see the sleeveless shirt inside my wardrobe with the coat next to it. I can see the buttons on the coat clearly. I can see the numerous coffee beans inside the glass container. I can see each and every one of them clearly. I can see everything in the domain clearly at the same time, and with that came a massive headache that brought on me an unimaginable amount of pain. However, pain didn't faze me one bit, as I stayed still with no movement whatsoever for what I could only assume to be hours of constant pain. For someone to have an ability such as mine, their brain needs to be able to process massive amounts of information constantly. And with the amount of pain I'm feeling right now, and considering the years of multitasking training I did just for this moment, a training that brought me quite far considering the talent I have, then you can only imagine what would happen to someone else processing the same amount of information I am. The pain continued for a long time as I continued to observe everything within my range. As time passes, the pain continued to wane as my mind started adapting to processing the massive amounts of information. Then as the pain disappeared, my perception got much more clearer, to the point where I felt like everything is under my control. I felt like I'm standing atop of the world and anything within my domain is under my complete and absolute control, even reality. That was, however, an illusion, but who's to say it won't become reality in the future? A pure smile painted my face as I enjoyed the fascinating feeling. a feeling I didn't get to enjoy much as my N started to shrink more until all my Nen retreated to its cold small home that is me. I entered the state of Zetsu, and while still being in Zetsu my domain was released and started expanding until it reached the previous radius of 25 meters around me, though what's different is the fact that this is not N. I can feel like I can still use N with the same radius of 200 meters, but this is completely different as my aura keeps getting consumed by my brain, with the latter being the center of my domain, and all of this is happening while still being in Zetsu. I can feel everything in my domain, though nowhere near the same intensity as it was before. My domain is not formed with Nen, which means I can still use it while in Zetsu, though the consumption is considerable. Now to test my control, I concentrated on the cup on top of the table as it slowly started to levitate and move around my domain at an accelerating speed, though I noticed that Nen consumption is immense for moving such a small object. The expenditure only continued to increase as the cup's speed increased. And this is why in most cases limitations and conditions are necessary. They increase the ability's power while lowering the consumption, making them more usable and more effective, though I'm not interested in setting any condition. And it's time for me to set a few limitations. Chapter 27. It's time for me to set a few limitations. I will never be able to use N again. This is the first thing and something I've been planning for a while. Risk is one of the factors which has a remarkable effect on Nen. Self-imposed stipulations that are harmful or potentially so to the creator, such as willingly limiting the use of their senses, can increase the power of their Nen, and of their Nen abilities in particular. This is because Nen is an expression of willpower, and willingly taking extra risks confirms the Nen user's resolve. So I'll restrict myself from ever using N, limiting my senses while using my domain to take its place. This is basically a trade. I'm trading the ability to use N that has a range of 200 meters radius for an increase in my domain's power and a decrease in consumption, though this is an immediate effect risk, which means once I make the vow then I basically lose the ability to use N. The further away from the center of my domain the less control I have and the less I can sense. The closer to the center the more control I have and the more I can sense. This is kind of a limitation, though it could be considered as an equivalent exchange, as I'm sacrificing something to be better at something. I already have a general picture of what I want my ability to be like and how I will progress it from here, but once I made the previous risk and limitation I still didn't feel like I completed that picture. It's like an intuition that every Nen user can feel once they made an ability that needs limitations, as the domain is too weak and the consumption is also too high. I felt like I needed something more, since what I want is a domain that gets stronger and larger, so the control extends to anything except mind control, while making it impossible to control the user and the domain. Mind control was never something I'm interested in. It always seemed foreign, as if you need to rely on manipulating someone else. I just prefer to keep my power close to me, and I just don't trust such abilities, but most importantly, I want to eliminate the chance of getting controlled or manipulated. And lastly, the limitation that came naturally without me needing to make it, and it makes sense since otherwise my domain will be absolute, and there is no absolute thing in this world, yet I can only control what I can sense. My domain started changing as I finished setting all the vows and limitations, making it usable. My domain started expanding more as my perception inside my domain started to get higher and higher, though I noticed the further from me the less I can sense, and the closer to me the better my perception is. My domain stabilized at exactly 35 meters as the addicting feeling of absolute control came back to me, and I enjoyed such feeling as I perceived everything in my domain. Hatsu Control Domain. Control domain is a domain where the user has a control level depending on the user's aura input and if the user is able to pay for the aura consumption. The user's input is how much aura the user can input to the brain in a particular time span, allowing the brain to perform the required task within the domain. It's also how much aura can the brain handle and consume in a specific time span. Everything has resistance, so the consumption will depend on the target's resistance, and the resistance rise exponentially the stronger the target is, especially Nen users. If the user controlled an inanimate object, then the consumption will depend on how the user is controlling it. If the user controlled it to move faster, then that action will keep producing more resistance the faster the speed is, so the user needs to have an aura input able to satisfy the intended speed. The user's body offers an absolute minimal resistance at all times, which means that while controlling it consumes aura, the consumption will be much lower than anything else. The user's domain is unsensible and unseeable even with using Gyo or N. The further away from the center of my domain, the less control I have and the less I can sense. The closer to the center, the more control I have and the more I can sense. Since the user has set a condition that lower his control the further from him and increase his control the closer to him, then the aura the user needs to pay for the same action could vary, depends on how far from the domain center the action is performed. Also, the user can sense things closer to the domain center much clearer than things further. 2. The user will never be able to use N again. The user gave up the ability to use N, making the ability much stronger. 3. The user's domain's range is 5 times harder to extend it than N. It's much harder to extend the user domain's range considering its capabilities. 4. The control extends to anything except mind control. The user gave the ability to ever control someone or something's mind, using this ability allowing him to be uncontrollable in his domain. 5. I can only control what I can sense. The user can only control what he can sense exactly, meaning that controlling molecules is impossible if he can't sense them precisely. I kept my domain fully released as I analyzed everything, especially my body, since it will be the main focus of my control. And as I expected, no matter how perfect I thought my Zetsu is, I still noticed a few flaws in it, though flaws small enough that even I didn't notice, but still flaws nonetheless, flaws I need to fix. I studied quite a lot of biology books from this world across the years and noticed something interesting. The physiology of humans of this world is exactly the same as the ones from my past world, though the limits to what normal humans can do were shown to be much bigger than my last world, which begs the question, how can they achieve these feats? The only logical conclusion I've come up with is Nen, considering everyone has it and its effects. From the research done by scientists from this world, the composition of atoms is the same as those from my last world unless Nen is having an effect on a cellular level, so perhaps I will find the answer once I can sense things at the cellular level. I concentrated, leaving my wandering thoughts aside from now. I analyzed every vein my blood goes through, which is something I already studied, but it couldn't hurt to make sure. It wasn't for a while before I started my experiment, as my heartbeat started getting slower and slower until, Chapter 28. I concentrated, leaving my wandering thoughts aside for now. I analyzed every vein my blood goes through, which is something I already studied, but it couldn't hurt to make sure. It wasn't for a while before I started my experiment, as my heartbeat started getting slower and slower until it stopped. My heart stopped beating for about a minute before it started beating again, and as I thought it too hard. If you took all the blood vessels out of an average child and laid them out in one line, the line would stretch over 60,000 miles. An adult's would be closer to 100,000 miles long, and I wanted to control my blood flow to function normally even after my heart stopped beating. I repeated the same process several times while keeping enough time between each try as to let my body have enough oxygen. Usually, a person passes out as soon as their heart stopped, though it seems that I built a slight resistance. Most likely because my heart is always beating at a slow rate with less than 30 bpm, which is why I can stop my heart for a minute and stay conscious, though I become a little bit lightheaded by the end of the minute. I can create enough push to send the blood and circulation around my body, but it's not perfect, and what I want is perfection, so I need quite a bit of training. I need to be able to function without a heart just in case someday I lose my heart somehow. I'm way more paranoid than I thought. There is also something I need to perfect, something that can be used by any potential enemy. Pattern of behavior is something Meruem used against Netero to get past his defense, which could potentially be dangerous to me. From the smallest muscle twitch to any pattern that I have, and my domain will be perfect for fixing that problem. I stood up while leaving my domain active since the consumption is quite low, and it will also allow me to observe how my muscles react when performing certain actions, which will allow me to be able to exert 100% of the body's muscular strength, maximizing the capacity. I also noticed my input is quite big, too big even. That was why I was able to control all of my blood, aside from the fact that my body provides minimal resistance. I know exactly why my input is so big. Aside from my training since I was little, the main reason is my compatibility and enhancement, which affected my output and also my input. This is something special about enhancers. Their output is so astronomically big they rarely if ever need to create abilities. Just using their massive output as a weapon is more than enough to surpass the most delicately created abilities of NEN users of other categories. The prime example of that is none other than Uvogin, who can basically create massive craters relying solely on concentrating his aura on his hands alone. Yasuo of course received that benefit, but also received another benefit that made all the difference: the massive increase in his input. A concept solely created for his domain control, because for the ability to work, it needs to consume NEN, and it does so through the brain. Depending on the required task, the necessary amount of aura will flow into his brain. This is what input basically is. If the brain can't handle the input, then Yasuo won't be able to do the said task, else if he pushes that limit too far, his brain will simply explode. I went ahead and changed my clothes after taking a shower, only to notice once I picked up my phone that about 17 days have passed. I knew a long time passed considering how hungry and uncomfortable I feel, but it's much longer than I thought. Anyway, I went out to a nearby restaurant where I ate as much as I could, then went back home to sleep. Facing me is the floor master of the 247th floor, standing at an average height of 174 centimeters, with short brown hair, black eyes, and wearing a black t-shirt and shorts. He had a serious look on his face as he looked at me while ignoring the loud noise coming from the audience. He then said, "You should know that I'm one of the top fighters even among the floor masters, yet you still challenged me specifically. Well, you have an interesting ability, and all my previous opponents were too slow, so I wanted to see far I can go against someone with a speed-focused ability," I responded to him with a smile on my face with my domain fully released. He narrowed his eyes as he kept his focus on me while waiting for the commentators to start the match. "Begin." He instantly jumped up while letting his ren out as his aura concentrated on his legs. Then his aura started transmuting around his legs into a pair of long compression springs. They started compressing in the air, and once they got compressed enough, he seemed to disappear, only to appear to the left of the ring as the springs compressed again, almost instantly sending him at the end of the ring behind me. He just kept circling around me while observing me, and I didn't move as he kept circling while closing the distance. He is a transmuter who transmitted his aura to mimic compression springs. When you put a load on a compression coil spring, making it shorter, it pushes back against the load and tries to get back to its original length, and he is using the same principle to move with such speed. The springs seem to be able to push him even in the air, which means he must have put a limitation that allowed him to perform this feat. I am sensing everything in my domain waiting for him to try attacking. I moved to the center of the ring for my domain to envelop every part of it as I waited for him to come close. Everything he does is within my domain, so once he jumped behind me trying to attack me, I simply crouched just enough for his punch to pass through, though he instantly jumped in another direction. A bright smile surfaced on my face. My domain is too useful. I can sense every little movement he does, and I can pretty much predict his next action. Now I want to see the consumption for controlling another NEN user. I started concentrating most of my aura on my right hand as a dark sphere-like aura surrounded my hand. His expression became even more solemn, noticing the wild yet calm dark sphere around my hand, and he knew he can't allow me to hit him, else it's certain death. He concentrated more aura on his legs, accelerating his jumping speed as he continued to jump around while I didn't move from my place. A calm smile remained on my face. Then as he attacked from behind me with a speed close to my top speed, though he won't be anywhere near it without the compressing springs. Though this time I jumped evading his attack, and as he started compressing the springs to move away, he suddenly slowed down for a split second, which is enough for me. I controlled myself, turning around only for my punch to go through him as purple lines appeared on my arms. Hatsu Violet Rose M equals 7, T equals 0.2. The aura I concentrated on my hand disappeared as it went through him, leaving a dark purple mark on his back. I stopped my control as he started moving again, only to vanish as the timer has ended. I retracted my domain as I noticed blood coming down my nose and a massive headache that barely affected my reasoning and thoughts. This leads me to note that controlling Nen users is just not worth it, as I was only able to slow him down for a split second before my brain couldn't handle it. The input and the consumption are too high. A gleam of light appeared on my dark eyes as I thought to myself, having 100% an enhancement made so much difference, though his defense was weak, which made it easier, especially since most of his aura was concentrated on his legs. But it didn't change much, as his death was inevitable in a maximum of 2 attacks. The most noticeable difference though is my input. I'm pretty sure if it didn't increase due to the vow, my input would have been able to allow me to even control myself. I turned around and started leaving the ring, not giving the speechless commentators any chance to regain their bearing. This is kind of boring, I will just go back home. As for Battle Olympia, I'm just not that interested. Chapter 29. In the year 1986. The Zoldyck family owns and lives at the Kukuru Mountain, a dormant volcano in the Dentora region of the Republic of Padokia, which stands at 3,722 meters. In the outskirts of the mountain near the testing gate, a middle-aged man could be seen standing next to a shabby-looking wooden cottage. That is Zebro, a middle-aged man with a balding head that appears to be a simple old security guard, but is in actuality heavily muscled and capable of opening the first door of the testing gate, 4 tons. He seems to be paying attention to the bus parking close by as a few tourists exited while being led by a beautiful blonde lady. She seems to be the tour guide from her uniform, as she explained a few available information about the Zoldyck family. The beautiful lady is from Lamentation Tours, a daily bus tour ride that runs around Dentora's mountains. From the tourists, a young dark-haired boy could easily be noticed. He seems to be walking from the rest of the tourists heading towards the testing gate. He was standing at a height of 153 centimeters, wearing a set of black clothes. An air of maturity and tranquility seemed to surround him. A serene smile painted his pale, handsome face, a silver chain earring on his left ear that brings a new light to his pitch-black eyes that perfectly complements his dark short hair. This is Yasuo Zoldyck. Zebro seemed to know who he is as he bowed his head. Yasuo just nodded at him, then continued on his way. As he walked, his presence seemed to be getting lower and lower until it completely disappeared once he stood in front of the testing gate. It got to such a degree that the tourists far away completely ignored him as if he didn't exist, though Zebro was still paying attention to him, with a few drops of sweat coming down his face while trying to keep his usual expression. Yasuo knew he could just go through the small gate, but he still wanted to test himself. It's been 5 months since Yasuo became a floor master, and all he did across these past months is training his control domain and enjoying himself. Reading more books about the world, and making a few adjustments to his plans while not putting as much focus on pure physical training. He brought his hand up, then he started to slowly push as his hands touched the gate, and it started opening slowly, making no sound. And as the first gate started opening, the second followed. Soon the 5th gate started opening, and as the 6th one was about to start opening, he stopped even though he could go higher. He went through as the gates slowly closed behind him, leaving Zebro with his eyes widened, unable to comprehend what had just transpired. The tourists only noticed the gates slowly close with puzzled thoughts. After exiting Zetsu and entering Ten, Yasuo then walked slowly through the road leading to the mansion with a nostalgic smile on his face. It's good to be back. He passed the guardian post where the guardian keeps any intruders from passing, Then once he got close to the mansion he noticed a massive silver dog running in his direction while growling from far away, only to stop once he reached him and bend his head expecting a pat from Yasuo. "It's been a while, Ryu, you grew up, huh?" said Yasuo in a breezy tone as he started patting him with his hand, looking extremely small compared to the dog's head, who let out a few whines expressing his satisfaction. Whines that would scare any normal person befitting of such a massive dog. He then continued walking towards the mansion with Ryu walking beside him. He noticed his mother Kikuo Zoldyck in front of the mansion waiting for him. "Yasuo, did you miss me? Come give me a hug," she said in a cheerful tone while spreading her arms waiting for Yasuo to hug her, and he did just that. "Mother, it's been a while," said Yasuo. Then they hugged for a while. She started patting his head while saying, "Let's go, your father wants to see you." She then took his hand, bringing him along with her. They headed to Silva's room, where they found Silva sitting on the couch as a small smile surfaced on his face, noting to himself that Yasuo became much stronger from his aura, though he couldn't tell exactly how much. And the information he got from Heaven's Arena about him isn't that useful, since he most likely never went all out. He then said, "You took your time, huh? So how did it go?" Yasuo sat down next to him on the couch while Kiko stood next to him while playing with his hair. "Quite easy. Fighting was fun at first, then it got boring, especially since there are no benefits." Silva seems in deep thought, then he said with a stern look, "I asked you this question more than 3 years ago, and I'll ask you again. What do you think about being the heir?" Yasuo looked at Silva with the tranquil smile still hanging on his face. Then he said in a casual voice, "Nah, it doesn't sound interesting, and it sounds like a lot of responsibilities." Silva's face couldn't help but twitch as he looked at his monster of a son. The problem with forcing him to be the heir is the possible backlash. After what Silva saw in Yasuo's water deviation, he knew that forcing him to be the heir isn't a good idea. Especially after observing him for so long and noticing how much he likes to be in control. So while he can force him to be the heir for a while, in the long term, it may lead to some unforeseen consequences. Silva was in deep thought while Kiko seemed to be holding her laugh. Yasuo seems to be sitting there in a carefree manner with his wandering thoughts. A strange family, that's what he is thinking about, but this is the kind of family he is comfortable with, and he wouldn't want to be born in any other family, especially a normal one. A normal family would be too uncomfortable and limiting to someone like him. That's why Yasuo appreciates the Zoldyck family quite a lot, and he'll help if needed, but being the head will take too much of his research time, and it's not something he'll enjoy. "So is there anything you're interested in?" suddenly Silva asked Yasuo, bringing him from his daze. A bright smile appeared on Yasuo's face as he answered instantly, "Yeah, I read a lot of books and I found I enjoy researching and experimenting on stuff, so I was thinking of creating a lab, though I don't have enough funds yet." As soon as Yasuo finished talking, a devilish smile surfaced Silva's face as he brought a simple device that has an oval shape and, apparently, a semi-flattened aspect. Its size is small enough to fit in the palm of the hand. It has a side button for quick contact, a small LED status light indicator/display on the top, a small microphone and/or speaker on the bottom, and also what appears to be an earphone jack connector port for audio output underneath. Additionally, in the middle of the device, there is a hexagram stamped within a circle. This is the Zoldyck's personal transmitter. We use it to ask for any available mission as well as reporting the completion of missions. Since you need funds, then you can take missions as you'll get paid depending on the difficulty of the mission. Then Silva explained with a crafty smile on his face, ready to continue convincing the youth at any signs of resistance. Though Yasuo seemed to have expected as he took the cell phone, saying sure. Leaving Silva speechless. Chapter 30. The Hunter x Hunter world is composed of the ocean and the 6 continents, which look similar to those of Yasuo's past world but have different locations. There are 250 countries in the world and only 2 continents are known in the story by name so far, the European and Asian continents. In reality, the ocean where these continents are is a great lake in the dark continent called Lake Mobius. The continent where the Zoldyck family resides is named the Enrica continent, while the one where the Hunter Selection Committee Hotel was shown in the story is named Consia. The one the Federation of Ochima inhabits is named United Urisha, while the last and the smallest is called the Oceantica continent. In the Consia continent, somewhere in the capital of the Kukanyu kingdom, high buildings could be seen all around as the sound of rain masked any sound that could be heard. In such heavy rain in the dark of the night, Yasuo could be seen walking at the edge of a specific roof. He kept walking for a while, then he stopped and started falling down the building, or so it seems. He started walking down the building horizontally as if gravity has no effect on him, and rain seemed to avoid him, keeping him completely untouched, though his steps seem quite long, as with every step he passes more than 7 meters. As he almost reached the ground, his extremely slow heartbeats started getting slower and slower until they completely disappeared as his presence lowered even more. His presence was so low people would find it hard to detect him even when he's walking among them, akin to a shadow in the middle of the night. His nen surrounding him in the state of 10 became transparent, making his presence even harder to detect as he entered the state of in. As he reached the ground, he just continued to walk casually as no one was able to see him or sense him even with the low amount of people around. He continued to walk for a while as 3 people about few meters from him seemed to be passing by, close to him while keeping enough distance. An old white-haired man in the middle with 2 of what could be presumed to be bodyguards surrounding him from each side, though they seemed to be keeping a little distance behind him, protecting his back. Yasuo continued walking past them as if paying them no heed. He brought a special cell phone from his pocket, then called a specific number. This is the Zoldyck's personal transmitter. Mission completed, transfer the money to my personal account. That's all he said before closing the phone. By this time, 5 seconds have passed since passing by them, and with it, the old man that passed far behind him disappeared, leaving no trace whatsoever, and no purple lines ever appeared on the target's body. This is the effect of using in which renders aura imperceptible, effectively concealing it, and the only way for someone to see it would be by using Gyo. While Yasuo can easily just kill him from far away using any weapon or using a mission, he still prefers to make sure. And making the target disappear completely is perfect. After all, there are Nen users whose aura remained even after their death, and while the target this time isn't a Nen user, there is always a chance. The most important reason though is all kinds of abilities in this world, so what if there is an ability that makes use of a dead body to curse the killer? Yasuo let out a sigh. I'm much more paranoid than I thought. Though a tranquil smile came back to his face as he took the train heading to the airship's station. It's been about 3 years since Yasuo came back from Heaven's Arena, making him 14 years old. He took several missions in the first few months, providing him with enough funds to create a special lab, and he continued to take a few missions from time to time. Within the property of the Zoldyck family, a little bit far from the main mansion, 2 new structures could be seen close to each other, a small but elegant cottage and a large plain metallic structure right next to it. Yasuo could be seen sauntering into the small cottage. He made himself a coffee after taking lunch, then sat in front of a portable computer where he did some of his research. He then noticed an email from the Hunters Association informing him about the location of the Hunters exam this year, as a bright smile surfaced on his face. What Yasuo wanted is the Hunter license, which is incredibly useful. A Hunter license is a type of card given exclusively to hunters after they pass the Hunter exam, which proves the status of the owner and has multiple benefits. It provides free access to most of the public services and permission to go almost anywhere in the world without a visa. It also grants the ability to kill without facing major legal consequences, although there are exceptions. A Hunter license also grants access to guarded information as well as being an easy way to get jobs. Furthermore, there are collectors willing to buy it for a fortune that would sustain a hunter's family for generations. The 277th Hunter exam. There is still about a month until the appointment, so I have plenty of time. Also, Killua was born 2 years ago and there didn't seem to be any noticeable change, though him not being born because of my existence was within the realm of possibilities. Also, Aluka was born by the end of the last year and she seems normal, for now. Anyway, I should see if the next dose is ready. Yasuo thought to himself, then stood up with the metallic structure as his destination. He entered the building after typing the password allowing him to enter. What appeared before him is an extremely large room. There seem to be several large work tables with a variety of tools on them. This includes microscopes, slides, test tubes, petri dishes, growth mediums, both solid and liquid, inoculation loops, pipettes and tips, incubators, autoclaves, and laminar flow hoods. At the other side of the room, various glass and metallic cages could be seen with different animals in them, from small insects to weird-looking animals, though all of them seem to be asleep or more like drugged. There also seem to be all kinds of plants planted in a specialized environment suited for them. He ignored everything else, heading to a specific work table where a few test tubes with a yellow liquid were positioned on a heater that seems to be keeping the mixture at a specific temperature. He took that specific tube then directly drank it. This is a mixture Yasuo made that accelerates body development, especially strengthening bone density. Yasuo did a lot of research on herbs and animals from this world for the last couple of years. He brought all kinds of creatures and plants that didn't exist in his past world, and by mixing different substances and testing them on different animals, observing the results lead him to discover a few elixirs with different uses, though nothing revolutionary as of yet. Of course, he had to start from somewhere, and the Zoldyck family happened to have several recipes. They used to mix them with the food or give us some potions to drink, which helped a lot in our development. He used them as a foundation, then improved on them. And considering all the bizarre creatures and plants in this world, then there is bound to be some with fascinating effects that had be deemed to be mystical in his previous world. Suddenly a beautiful-looking silver butterfly flew around until it stabilized on Yasuo's shoulder. This is one of the rarest butterflies in the world, the Pilots butterfly, with a relatively high lifespan of 5 years. It's capable of producing and releasing a transparent powder capable of paralyzing a grown adult in under a minute. A smile surfaced on Yasuo's face. "Come here, little butterfly." He then brought his left hand up as the butterfly flew, stabilizing on it. Yasuo brought his right hand close to the butterfly, then amplify. Chapter 31. Then Yasuo brought his right hand close to the butterfly, then amplify. Suddenly a purple sphere appeared enveloping the butterfly within, and as it appeared something changed. Yasuo's domain enveloping an area with a radius of 60 meters started shrinking until it only enveloped an area of 2 meters around him, though a bright smile painted Yasuo's face as if it's not anything strange. As the purple sphere with a diameter of 10 cm enveloped the butterfly, everything inside, from the butterfly to the air particle, seemed to freeze as if time stopped. And with it, Yasuo's minute sense inside the purple bubble got stronger and stronger until his senses extended to the microscopic level, making it within his control. He closed his eyes as several micro strands of Nen connected to his right hand started going inside the butterfly while doing a few micro impacts, just enough to not cause any harm. The process continued for a while as he made sure to let the butterfly's cells have a taste of Nen before he stopped as his domain returned to its normal state. The ability he used is a sub-ability of the control domain, which allows his senses to reach a frightening level, granting him the possibility to control things at the microscopic level at the cost of shrinking his domain. So far he is able to amplify a sphere with a diameter of 10 cm at the cost of reducing his control domain's radius by 58 meters. That is something he is able to do solely because of his frighteningly high compatibility and proficiency in enhancement, and that is another reason why he needed that increase in compatibility. Control domain amplify, enhancement. The user can amplify his senses and control over an area at the cost of reducing his control domain's radius. The cost and the amplification area radius depend on how much amplification is needed. The amplified area can only be within the user's domain, which means if the user sacrificed 58 meters leaving him only 2 meters, then the amplification domain can only be within the 2 meters. The amplification domain can have any radius as long as it's within the normal domain, but the smaller it is, the stronger the amplification will be. The user's control inside the amplification domain can get stronger depending on how much of his domain range is sacrificed. His amplification domain disappeared, and with it, his control domain returned to its original radius. Go little butterfly and don't disappoint me. A tranquil smile painted his pale face as a small clanking sound coming from the long chain earring on his left ear. This has been something he did several times over the last year with a question in mind: is it possible for any creature to awaken Nen? So he groomed the butterfly since a year ago, though there doesn't seem to be much effect as of yet. He also did the same for a few other animals, yet none of them produced any result yet. Yasuo knows that animals can awaken Nen, the example being chimera ants, specifically Yuppie. He has no human genes, yet he is able to use Nen, meaning the beast genes he has in him allowed him to. Unless the ant queen has human DNA in her, though they were magical beasts which might have an effect. Yasuo continued to be absorbed in his thought process. Also, it wouldn't make sense for other creatures not to have Nen, as creatures from the Dark Continent were shown to have abilities that could only be explained with Nen. Though they may not know how to use Nen or even know of its existence, Nen could also be explained with the soul being its source, or at least being a part of it. Yasuo then continued to mix several mixtures, though most of them are poisons and only 2 of them have a body strengthening effect, but still, they're nowhere as useful as the first one he took. Relaxing music started playing as different test tubes could be seen flying everywhere, as different substances seemed to get mixed at the same time with precise accuracy. New tubes with new mixtures positioned on new heaters, while the completed ones were sent to a large fridge by the side. A small smile of enjoyment could be seen on Yasuo's face. He seems to be enjoying such a simple yet magical process. The whole building is within his control domain, though what he trained the most isn't his range, but his preciseness and what can he sense, though he is still nowhere near the microscopic level. 2. What he found is that increasing his senses in the control domain is much harder than increasing the range, which explains how his range nearly doubled while his sense didn't have any notable increase. That's also why he created the sub-ability Amplify. This is something necessary since the limitation of he can control only what he can sense exists. He was even planning on creating it long ago because he predicted something like this will happen and he will be such an ability. I used every interesting test subject and useful plants, though the only ones available on the market, which is why I want to take the hunter exam. The license will help me find special and rare resources that could be useful, and it will help me move around the world easily. Yasuo went on to drink 2 more mixtures while continuing his work with his control domain. He then entered a small white chamber at the left of the room while using his domain to create sort of a barrier, not allowing anything to leave the room before closing the door. What appeared before him is a small pool. Inside the pool is a dark liquid that seems to produce bubbles of toxic substances. A strange aura could be felt from it, a vile one, as it seemed to surround the pool. From the pool, 2 pitch-black daggers surfaced with a sticky black liquid dripping from them. The daggers have no hilts on them, with a length of 10 inches, they look extremely exquisite with the same perfect shape, though their sharpness and deadliness could be easily noticed. Once the daggers came within 2 meters of Yasuo, his domain started shrinking, and with it, a purple sphere with a diameter of 1 meter enveloped the daggers. Then Yasuo started manipulating all of the liquid still sticking onto the daggers back to the pool until they became dry with no hint of any fluid whatsoever. He controlled the daggers, bringing them closer, then he used Ren, concentrating all of his aura on the daggers, and as the aura was concentrated to a certain degree, it became incredibly dark as it enveloped the daggers within. He continued the process for about an hour, then stopped. They're completed. Beautifully done. He observed the daggers with a gleam of delight in his eyes as he traced the cold chilly daggers with his fingers, sensing the nen all over them. This is a project Yasuo started a year ago, creating a weapon similar to Benny Delon's knives though much higher quality. So he bought the most durable material he could find and gave a lot of time to improving a certain poison, making them much more lethal. He also used Ren on them regularly, though he wasn't sure if it will work. But the results in front of him filled him with delight as a brilliant smile surfaced on his face. Now all I need is to study the mysterious inscriptions or the divine script to see if I can make them stronger. The mysterious inscription, when applied to an object, it increases its durability by many times, even if the components of said objects are not fused together. For example, Killua, whose superhuman strength allows him to easily twist any iron box open, was unable to warp Jing's box in the slightest. As for the divine script, it has the uncanny power to strengthen the nen of the one who drew it, provided the script is charged with his or her aura. These are things Yasuo's interested in, though he'll need to go to Greed Island or visit ancient ruins to study them. Yasuo then went out with the daggers flying around him. As he closed the door, 2 dagger sheets flew from a closet at the end of the room, colored in black with an exquisite purple engraving all over them. They positioned on the belt of Yasuo's black pants as the daggers followed, sheathed in their place. After a few hours of work in preparing a few things, Yasuo exited the building, then changed his clothes in his house. Yasuo then walked on a vast green hill next to his house, until he suddenly jumped, with his speed accelerating as he flew into the horizon with the Zoldyck mansion as his destination. Flight appeared to be quite simple of an ability to gain. All he has to do is be able to handle the required input and he can control himself to fly. Into the horizon he went. Chapter 32. Yasuo then walked on a vast green hill next to his house, until he suddenly jumped, with his speed accelerating as he flew into the horizon with the mansion as his destination. In the perimeter of the Zoldyck's main mansion, a massive hound could be seen lying down with his eyes closed. Mike is an enormous hound with purple fur and a pink tongue. He has a slender body, pointy ears, long legs, thin and elongated snout, and a long bushy tail. His forepaws have long, curved claws and resemble that of a human hand rather than a hound's paw. In the sky, a black dot could be seen approaching with a high speed, enlarging as it came closer, though no sound can be heard from it all. As it came close enough to be clearly seen, Yasuo Zoldyck, and in less than a second he came down with the same speed, leaving no movement in the wind and no sound whatsoever. He landed silently and elegantly with a tranquil smile on his face. He was wearing a white long-sleeved shirt with black pants and black combat boots. A special leather black belt loops around his pants with 2 dagger sheaths at the right of the belt. A small part of what could be presumed to be a black dagger could be seen from the sheaths. His hair became a little bit longer, almost reaching his eyes, his usual black eyes, with a silver long chain earring on his left ear with the same tranquil air surrounding him. Mike didn't notice him at all until he heard the calm shout, making him jump back with his hair standing in fright as he started growling. That's until he processed the familiar voice as he looked at Yasuo, making his growl turned into a whine of happiness. He then ran closer to Yasuo, bending his head. "That's a good boy." Yasuo patted him, making the dog release moans of happiness. "You're still in training, huh? You should be able to complete the training this year. Well, see you later." Then he entered the mansion. He directly headed to the family room where Illumi, Maha, and Silva are, thanks to his control domain making everything inside the mansion within his senses. He noticed Kikyo in her room, noting her pregnancy. He also noticed Maluki in his room as always, while Killua and Aluka playing around in the playroom. We are in the year 1989, so Killua is about a year and a half while Aluka is only a few months old. He narrowed his eyes, noting that her aura is still the same with no change. Yasuo paid special attention to Aluka, though there doesn't seem to be any abnormality as of yet. What he wants to know is whether Nanako was born within Aluka or something that only appeared during her childhood. In the manga, when the flashback was shown, she appeared to still be a toddler. So Nanika should appear approximately somewhere between her being 8 to 24 months old considering all the circumstances. He looked thoughtful as he opened the massive brown wooden door to the family room. Silva could be noticed sitting on a comfortable-looking chair, and Maha in another chair close to him, Illumi facing them and a round table between them. "I'm back," said Yasuo before taking a seat. Silva nodded. "Let's wait for a while. Zeno contacted me, he is only a few minutes away." Yasuo nodded. Then everyone waited until a servant knocked on the door and only entered once he received permission. The servant entered with a large plate with 5 cups of coffee on it. The servant then put it on the table. Each took a cup, then they started drinking in silence after the servant left. It wasn't long before Zeno entered Yasuo's domain, and only about a minute before he entered the room. "Wait until I tell you the story, it was a very interesting mission." He started with his usual stereotype attitude as soon as he entered the room. Yeah, you always say that. Every mission you take, you find interesting," said Silva interrupting him. "Anyway, let's start. Illumi, how were your missions for the last year?" "Easy, I have only faced one Nen user in the entire year, though he was a rookie, so not much of a challenge," answered Illumi in an absent-minded yet joyful tone. Silva nodded, then turned to Yasuo waiting for him to answer the same question. "I haven't faced any Nen user for the last year, so just the typical missions," casually responded Yasuo. "Okay, if you have any questions or if you need any advice, ask now," Silva then said. "This is a meeting where they all assemble together to exchange information and more in-depth experiences, a ritual of the Zoldyck family." "I already asked my mother about what I need," Illumi said. "As always, since Kikyo is a manipulator, he always learns from her or Yasuo, though the latter is rarely available." "Is any one of you interested in going to the Dark Continent?" suddenly Yasuo inquired, making their face twitch. The Zoldyck's mansion has 2 libraries, the one open for everyone that has only general knowledge books, and the small one that only has a few books, but all of them have some interesting pieces of information. From information about assassinations to information about the Dark Continent, though when Yasuo read it, he didn't find it to be too useful considering it only describes one unofficial expedition, still useful nonetheless. "Not really, but maybe later if I found any interest in it or if it's needed for a job." "No, I'm too old for such a thing." Illumi, Maha, and Zeno all answered in the same order. "No, do you?" Silva answered before asking back with a look of interest. "Yeah, though not until much later," Yasuo honestly answered while paying attention if anyone is actually interested. "There is a chance that he won't be as strong as he wants to be by the time he goes to the Dark Continent, which will be the result of unsatisfactory results in a few experiments he is planning. In that case, a backup plan is needed, people he can trust to a certain extent, which will help a lot in the Dark Continent. After all, the place is too dangerous." The meeting was as always professional, mostly about the family business and about Killua being the heir and his training progress. After spending some time in the mansion, Yasuo then went back to his house. In front of his house, Yasuo could be seen standing with his eyes closed. His domain enveloped a vast area around him as he focused completely. His domain of 60 meters started expanding slowly by a few cm. With this small expanding, his senses inside his domain started decreasing as the domain became unstable. This is how Yasuo expanded his domain's radius. He stopped expanding it, then focused on stabilizing his domain, though it proved to be quite hard. Expanding his domain only got harder and harder the larger it is. He kept persisting in stabilizing it for a while, then retracted his domain to his previous shape, though the domain was extended about a couple of cms. Amplify. Suddenly his domain started shrinking rapidly until it only enveloped 2 meters around, though what could be noticed is a purple layer surrounding the bubble. This is a state where Yasuo reduces his domain's range and makes his amplification domain equal to the rest of the available domain, which in this case is 2 meters. He calls this state perfect domain. This increases his sense in the domain and increases his control, though nowhere near when he use amplification on solely 10 cm, which increases his senses to a cellular level. The reason it increases his control is that his brain will only focus on the specific space without further consumption, since keeping his large domain activate needs a certain amount of input into the brain. This allows his brain to handle much more input, since all the load on his brain disappears, allowing more control. He then used in making the purple color transparent and lowering his presence. It's time to take the hunter's exam. And with a small smile, he disappeared, flying with a speed much faster than the last time. Hunters. Quick break time. Y'all know the deal now. 1 kilowiz supreme. 2 kilowiz supreme. 3 kilowiz supreme. Mini cult chant over. Okay, let's get back into the video. Chapter 33. It's time to take the hunter's exam. And with that, he disappeared, flying with a speed much faster than the last time. Yarbia continent, the southeast part of United of Saherta, in a small town in the middle of the desert with a population of less than 2,000. Yasuo could be seen setting foot in it. It's important to note that it's extremely hot in the south of United Saherta, especially the area around here, as people could be noticed sweating, though few could be seen outside. The town is quite hard to get to, as people normally use a special kind of camels that are quite a bit bigger than normal ones, with quite a bit of fur on them, especially their heads. Though it takes quite a bit of time, which is hard considering the temperature in this place. As for Yasuo, well, he flew here. He continued walking with a small specific hotel as his destination. The heat doesn't seem to have any effect on him, as not even a drop of sweat came down his face and his breathing was perfectly stable. The hunter's exam will be in the desert this time, though it shouldn't be in this town but somewhere around it or underground. The address they sent me leads to this specific town in a hotel, so it should a pre-exam, thought Yasuo. He entered the hotel, noticing quite a bit of people around focusing on a piece of paper. He ignored them and went to the recipient. I'm here for the hunter's exam. She just nodded and handed him a piece of paper with a smile on her face after asking for his name. He took the paper, then went out. As he started heading outside of the town, his hand turned purple for a split second, making the paper vanish from existence. When he entered the hotel, his domain scanned everything inside, every paper, since his domain can make out the ink on the paper, allowing him to know everything written on them. What he found are 3 kinds of poems, though all of them are poorly made. Each one leads in a certain direction, though he noticed something: all of them were too easy. His poem said the following. A magician could be seen looking north as the sun shone on his face. He turned his focus to his performance. A coin trick he did, and the audience cheered. He performed a bow as thanks, though with it the coin dropped from his right hand. He turned to the right, picking it up, then went on his way with the shadows as his guide. It's too easy, so anyone should be able to figure it out. Mine leads south while the other 2, one leads west, and the other leads east. He headed to a back alley, disappearing to the sky while making sure no gaze was on him. He then headed south. He noticed a sandstorm arriving a while ago, though it'll mostly affect south the town as the temperature continued to rise. This should be a part of the test. Moving in such circumstances for several km should pose a challenge for some of them. In the email, they said to reach the hotel today, which means they started giving the poems today, and on the paper, they wrote that the deadline is by evening. Thought Yasuo while appreciating the beautiful sand dunes painting the desert. Yasuo noticed life signals from time to time, though he is high enough as to not be noticed, while also lowering his presence. He was flying a few km high, so even with his enhanced sight he could only roughly discern them, though he can perceive them clearly with his senses. While still in the state of in, a part of his Nen concentrated on his eyes with precise control to a few specific spots, and everything became within his vision as his sight got enhanced. This is a technique that needs a certain amount of control. It allows its user to enhance vision considerably. Netero was able to use something similar, if not the same, allowing him to see miles away as if it's in front of him. He noticed a lot of people who should be taking the exam as well. He kept paying attention to every presence he sensed, trying to locate the exam location until he noticed a metal door in a specific hill. He flew down far away, then walked towards it. As he got close, the door opened. A brown-haired woman could be seen standing there as Yasuo got closer. "Name?" "That is all," she said. "Yasuo." She started looking at a long-arranged list. She went to the Y section until she found his name, then handed a badge with the number 39 on it. He took the badge, then entered, noticing hundreds of applicants already inside. So the applicants need to go to the place the poem leads them to. If they went to another one, they will be disqualified. That's why they asked for the name in the hotel and here, well, unless they made it back before the deadline, and that's why I saw several people going back. His domain scanned everything only to notice something interesting. Tunpa. Tunpa, the self-proclaimed rookie crusher. He is a short fat man with tan skin, brown hair, a large nose, and thick eyebrows. He went to a side with fewer people, then waited while focusing his domain on Tunpa, though nothing seems out of place, just a normal human. After scanning him several times, Yasuo entered a state of deep rumination. He is completely normal. Or is it something I can't detect? But how is he still fat? In the story, he ran 80 km, and considering he took the exam for more than 30 times, yet he still lived through all of them, and he is still overweight. It's a mystery. Should I do some research on him? He thought as a gleam of light shone in his eyes. He waited for a while until another large gate opened. From it a man with a pale lavender hair which curls at the end, blue eyes, and a long pointed chin. His most distinctive features are his thin curly mustache. This is Satats, a ruins hunter, though younger than how he was shown in canon. "The time for the reception is over, now the exam can begin," Satats said while stroking his mustache, announcing the beginning of the real exam. "I'm Satats, and I'm in charge of the first phase. As for the content of this phase, you just have to follow me. Now follow me," he said, going back through the door. He started going down the stairs leading down. "I forgot to mention something. Once I reach the destination, you'll have 15 minutes to reach it as well before you get disqualified." His speed continued to increase as he said that. Everyone followed only for them to notice something. The lower they go, the hotter it gets, until it got extremely hot once they reached a tunnel. Considering the temperature outside, then it could be imagined how hot it is in here, making the phase much harder, especially since the examiner started running, forcing them to run with him. Yasuo could be seen running close to Satats as the latter's speed continued on increasing, leaving several applicants on the brink of collapse. The running continued for 35 miles, taking 2 hours. As they reached an extremely large open garage, it could be noticed that there are 3 other tunnels leading to this place. From the tunnels, 2 other examiners could be seen running in near at the same time as Satats. Soon more applicants came from every tunnel until the doors closed, marking the end of the first phase. Chapter 34. From the tunnels, 2 other examiners could be seen running in near at the same time as Satats. Soon more applicants came from every tunnel until the doors closed, marking the end of the first phase. From the open garage, all one can see is sand thanks to the ongoing sandstorm. The next phase is quite simple. If you directly walked in a straight line, you'll find an oasis. All you have to do is to get 10 of certain fruit. Suddenly one of the examiners started talking while pointing to a box full of bags. He then pointed to a picture on the wall that has the description of the fruit and its picture. It's a round-shaped green fruit with a little of red all over it. "This is the one. There should enough for about 70 of you. You can get it by any means necessary." As soon as he finished speaking, many of the applicants started complaining. After all, about 900 applicants reached here. What he said means only about 70 of them will pass to the next phase. "Shut up!" Until a deafening shout came from him, restoring the silence in the place. "You have 6 days before the deadline. Anyone not present by that time with the requirement will be disqualified," he stated as he entered a small door leading somewhere with Satats and the other examiner. Yasuo picked up a bag from the box, then left, heading in the direction the examiner pointed to, leaving though someone followed him until he caught up with him. Hi, I noticed you keeping up with the examiner. I participated in the hunter's exam more than 20 times, so I have a lot of experience. Do you want to work together? Offered Tunpa, all smiles while trying to hand Yasuo a juice can. Suddenly Yasuo turned around looking at him while his domain shrank as an amplification domain appeared surrounding Tunpa, though it's undetectable since Yasuo is in the state of in. The amplification domain shrunk even more as he continued to try detecting anything interesting. Nothing, I guess I am being overly suspicious. Yasuo then turned around, continuing on his way, leaving a stunned Tunpa. He moved with an accelerating speed, leaving everyone behind. Once Yasuo no longer felt any gaze on him, he disappeared into the sky, flying in the same direction. The sandstorm had no effect on him, as a barrier with a diameter of 2 meters seems to stop the sand from touching him. He flew for what could be estimated to be 15 miles. He enhanced his vision along the way, noticing several desert worms on the ground. Desert worms are relatively big, with a length of 5 to 8 meters, fully grown. They usually eat anything that moves and are considered dangerous for normal people since they move below the ground and are deadly. The other applicants will have a hard time even reaching the destination, remarked Yasuo in his mind. For the last years, I only bought things I found interesting and researched them and made some interesting things. Once I get my hunter license, I will explore the world, especially ancient ruins. Jing likely learned about the mysterious inscription from them. They should help a lot in the creation of what I want to make. A smirk surfaced on Yasuo's face as he thought about his future plans. Yasuo researched a lot of things across the past years, though he gave a lot of focus on a special project. The problem he found is that the success rate is extremely low, and that is something he needs to fix. While flying, he noticed a shadow far away. That should be the oasis. With a speed of about 500 miles per hour, it didn't take long for him to reach it, though. In the state of a perfect 2 meters domain, his speed becomes much faster. Yasuo then hovered a few miles above the oasis, looking down on it. The sandstorm did little to affect his vision. He noticed the oasis going for several miles with a few large lakes scattered within. Beautiful, I should visit places like this more often, remarked Yasuo with a small smile as he looked at the vast green land with the lakes creating a beautiful picture. The tall, numerous trees seemed to hide what kind of creatures could be around them, though that didn't stop him from sensing the numerous life signals all around, from normal beasts to magical beasts. Yasuo started flying down to a specific lake where he sensed an apparent presence, too obvious to miss. He stood on a tree close to the lake as his domain enveloped a small part of the lake, only for him to know what it is. A horned snake, huh? It's been a while since I tasted it, though I'm not that interested right now. The horned snake is a type of snake that reaches several meters in length. What sets them apart is the 2 large horns on their head. They're considered a delicacy that's sought for, making them extremely expensive. No creature around noticed him since he entered Zetsu before going down. This is a benefit of his domain, he can use it even in Zetsu. He then sat comfortably on the tree branch. Abruptly, from all around him, several fruits that look exactly the same as the one the examiner showed in the picture flew to him. All of them flew next to him as the bag opened by itself, allowing 4 fruits inside, while one flew to his hand, gently landing on it. My domain extends 60 meters around me, yet I found only 5 fruits. This kind of fruit only grows close to the water, so there should be more. The Hunter Association most likely took the rest, leaving just enough for about 70 applicants, though Yasuo as he took a bite from the juicy fruit. Delicious, I should eat more, which will lower the passing applicants. If I take enough, it should be possible to lower the number of phases, making the next one the last. The reason why he won't take everything ending the exam with is the butterfly effect. While he doesn't care if most of the things changed, there is something that will be incredibly helpful and vital to his plans if it happens the same way it did in the story, though he won't go out of his way to make it happen. He started floating a little bit above the ground, circling the lake to get more fruits. Fruits flew from several directions. A few insects, small snakes that got closer to him just died, whether by their hearts getting crushed or their necks getting twisted. The control domain cannot be stopped by any barrier, and since anything sensed can be controlled, then Yasuo can just target weaknesses inside the body as long as his brain can handle the input. He also found that trying to control a Nen user's heart or anything inside their body is incredibly difficult, as Nen act as a barrier that increases the resistance to very high levels, requiring an input his brain can't handle, yet. That's why he was able to only slow the floor master by creating a push all around him, though even that was only for a fraction of a second. Yasuo took a bite of the fruit as he slowly flew around, exploring around while ruminating. I should explore the known ruins, then once I'm done I'll probably go to Greed Island to do some experiments and probably go to the Kaken Empire. The seed urn is quite interesting after all. A smirk appeared on his face. Though the most important thing is the wish I have to make to Nanika, this one is instrumental to my plans. Seeing how far I've planned and how many backup plans I planned is just too satisfying. I wonder how satisfied I will feel when my plans come to fruition, and with that, a smile of anticipation painted his pale face. Chapter 35. A smirk appeared on his face. Though the most important thing is the wish I have to make to Nanika, this one is instrumental to my plans. But seeing how far I've planned and how many backup plans I planned is just too satisfying. I wonder how satisfied I will feel when my plans come to fruition. The phase ended up with a war between the applicants while also keeping their eyes on all the creatures trying to hunt them. Especially since Yasuo took quite a lot of the fruits, leaving enough for just 35 applicants, which made the phase much more intense. Yasuo could be seen sitting comfortably on a tree branch. In front of him, hovering in the air, is a small headless snake engulfed in fire. The fire only focused on the snake, grilling it. Then from the sheaths on his belt, 2 dark daggers flew out, cutting the snake into small edible pieces. He ate slowly as they flew to his mouth while keeping his eyes closed. This is part of Yasuo's training. If he cooked anything, he'll use the black daggers to make the food poisoned, and considering that the dark dagger's poison has a substantial effect even on him, which means he has an always available dose of poison. Of course, he uses just enough to not affect him too much until his body adapted to this level of poison, and while he can get rid of the poison using his amplification domain, he still wants to grow resistance just in case. Someone's here and he has the fruits. Hee. Suddenly a dark-haired man yelled to his comrades. Hee. Making a fire in this place is a mistake, kid. Now give us the fruits and we'll let you live. Another man next to him said while the other one stayed silent. Sigh, it's good to let my whims guide me sometimes as long as it's safe. Yasuo sighed in satisfaction as he uttered those strange yet calm words. One of the daggers disappeared from its sheath only to appear in the sheath in the blink of an eye. With that, the 3 applicants fell, though what could be noticed is just a small wound on each of them. The skin around the wounds turned completely dark as they fell in the span of a second. The daggers are easy to control and they're extremely fatal, so the opponent will have to keep up with fighting Yasuo while also keeping an eye on the daggers being controlled. And they'll be fatal to Nen users if he used Shu, shrouding them in his aura, and with his experience in a mission allowing his aura to stay on them even while controlling them at long distances. I'm kinda evil, aren't I? Well, whatever. Time to go back. He then disappeared into the horizon, flying back. Once he was a few miles away, he noticed an airship next to the base. He flew down, then walked the rest of the way. The recipient was standing there waiting for the applicants to deliver the requirements, so once he reached her, he handed her the bag. Can I see your badge number, please? Yasuo handed her the badge, and after she took a look at it, she gave it back saying, "Follow me please." She led him to the airship to the stateroom section. This is your room, we'll inform you when the next phase starts. Also, the cafeteria is in the 3rd section. Please let us know if you need anything else. I'll continue to expand my domain size until the next phase, thought Yasuo as he sat down, closing his eyes. Yasuo could be seen walking through a certain hallway in the airship. The receptionist was walking ahead of him and seems to be leading him somewhere. The receptionist opened the door to a certain room saying, "This way please." After Yasuo entered the room, the receptionist closed the door. In front of him is what appeared to be a helpless old man. He has a ponytail, a thick beard, and stretched earlobes with 2 piercings in both ears. Isaac Netero, the 12th chairman of the Hunter Association and the head of the exam commission. In his youth, he was extolled as the most powerful Nen user in the world, and retained dreadful strength even in his old age. "Hu Yasuo Zoldyck, take a seat," said Netero in a mischievous yet jovial tone. Yasuo took a seat with a smile on his face. "Hi, grandfather talks a lot about you. And he told me a lot about you. So why do you want to be a hunter?" questioned Netero with his eyes gleaming in a bright light while sizing up the young Zoldyck before him. "I think you know, but I'll tell you anyway. A hunter license will provide me with a lot of benefits that will help my research, especially with things that I wouldn't be able to get otherwise," answered Yasuo casually. Netero seemed thoughtful as he observed Yasuo, noting how monstrous the kid is. Either he has a hatsu that has something to do with concealment, or he is just that strong, or both. "I can't tell exactly how strong he is, especially since he is in the state of Zetsu. Does his hatsu have something to do with being in this state? Well, he is interesting. Perhaps we'll have a spar later when he grows more." "Which type of hunter do you want to be?" asked Netero after coming back from his wandering thoughts and anticipation. While Netero was observing Yasuo, the latter was also observing him. "Well, I obviously know how strong he is, and I can tell he is stronger than father from the air around him, but I can't tell exactly by how much." While Yasuo knows how strong Netero is from the story, he still focused his senses on him, trying to estimate it himself, though that didn't get him an accurate result. "I want to be a research hunter. I'm basically interested in researching anything I find interesting in any field, so only this kind of category suits me," answered Yasuo while still observing Netero with his domain. Okay, anyway, I called you here for a reason. Here." While saying this, Netero handed Yasuo a hunter's license. "Once I knew you're taking the exam, I had this license prepared for you and planned to give it to you at the end of the exam, but it's better to do so now as to stop you from ruining the next phase as you did to the last one," explained Netero once he saw the questioning look Yasuo gave him. Yasuo nodded, taking the card from him. "Skipping what will obviously be a tasteless phase and just a waste of time is always welcomed. Since you like to research things, if you find anything interesting you can upload it to the Hunter's Troven. If it's remarkable enough, then you can easily become a 1-star hunter, granting you more benefits and access to more information. Hunter's Tavern is the top of the line in info content and reliability. On it can be found precious loot unimaginable on other sites. To access the website, one needs the URL and a hunter license." As Yasuo moved through the airship heading to the exit, someone familiar entered his domain. "Tunpa? He not only got out alive but he also passed the phase. Well, this is a mystery," thought Yasuo as he disappeared as if merging with the void, completely undetectable. He flew to the closest city and went directly to a cyberspace where he typed the Hunter's Troven's URL. He swiped his card on the magnetic card reader hardware once the site required it. A graphic animation starts, showing a tavern with old saloon-looking aspects mixed with the elements of a modern bar. The functional interface of the main page itself consists of graphic elements that serve as links to the site's sections, which are browsable through point-and-click actions. He directly brought from the Hunter website bartender every information available on the ancient ruins, and he tried finding anything about the mysterious ruins, though none came up. He looked to be in deep thought. It's either not available or I need a higher rank to access it. Once I go back home I'll upload some minuscule research results I got. They should be enough to make me a 1-star hunter, but for now, I'll explore every known interesting ruin." Chapter 36. In the far northeast of the Yarbia continent, near the ocean in the dense jungle of Nahale, a certain ruin was discovered. This is the ruin Yasuo's visiting now. It has only been discovered recently while Yasuo was exploring another ruin in the continent of Oceantica. This ruin only consists of a single underground building with several empty rooms inside. Yasuo could be seen inside the ruin with his domain spread all around. There is actually something. From all the ruins I visited, only 2 had the inscriptions, with this one being the third. Across the last year, Yasuo visited several ruins, though only 3 had the inscriptions so far, attesting to its rarity, though the previous 2 he found helped significantly in his studies of the inscriptions. He moved through the ruins observing the inscriptions on the walls. Most of them are strengthening inscription while few of them are concealment inscription, and he kept walking until he stood in front of a certain wall, a new inscription. He observed it as a gleam of delight appeared in his eyes. His domain processed every information, memorizing the inscription in order to experiment with it later. Once he memorized them and explored the entire ruin, he went out, then flew back to the hotel he booked in a nearby city. He entered his room after he had something to eat. From the 2 sheaths on his belt, 2 small black daggers flew until they hovered in front of him. Though what's different about them is the captivating engravings on them, making them look more appealing, but no amount of appeal could hide that apparent deadly vile aura surrounding them. The daggers seemed to blend in the darkness, making them hardly detectable. This is the effect of the concealment inscriptions, though it's not that effective. After he learned the inscriptions and verified their uses, he engraved them on the daggers, making them deadlier, akin to artifacts crafted by God. They're not at that level yet, but perhaps, someday, they'll be. This is how he learns what each inscription does. He engraves it on a test object, then observes the results while doing several tests. So far he only found 2 different inscriptions, one that strengthens the object it got engraved onto, and most likely the one Jing engraved on the box he left for gone. The other lower the object's presence by making it blends with the environment, though the effectiveness is quite low in the daylight while satisfactory at night. The reason he can't test the inscriptions uses at the ruins where they're engraved is that those ones are ineffective. The thing about the inscriptions is that once the one who engraved them die, they'll lose their effect, since the most important part of them is the engraver's nen. If the engraver dies, their nen disappears, except in special cases where the nen becomes stronger after the user's death, but Yasuo didn't come across such phenomena yet. From his backpack, several tiny needles and a metal tablet flew until they hovered in the air close to him. The needles are something he made himself in the lab back home, though he spent most of the time exploring. He still goes back from time to time. He made them from a highly durable material, and what an ordinary person can't notice is the small engravings across the needles. Those are strengthening inscriptions, making the needles stronger, which allowed him to engrave the inscription on the daggers, which otherwise would be hard even with Shu. He used Ren as his aura shrouded the tablet. He then used Shu on the needles, making them stronger and especially focused on their sharpness, then started engraving the inscriptions. Something that could easily be noticed is when he finishes an individual inscription, the latter seems to absorb the aura he is emitting while using Ren. This is what makes the process so taxing, keeping Ren during the entire process and the Nen getting absorbed, making it even more taxing, especially since one needs to engrave the inscription perfectly during the entire process. This highly difficult process didn't seem to pose any difficulty for Yasuo, as he controlled several needles at the same time engraving the inscriptions perfectly. The process looked captivating as the dark purple aura shrouded everything while the needles carved a beautiful work of art, bringing a bright smile to Yasuo's face. The process continued for a while until he retracted his aura as the needles flew back to his backpack. The tablet that looked enchanting after the engraving stayed hovering in front of him as he observed it closely. Though he noticed no change even with his domain, the tablet flew close to him, then amplification. A purple bubble surrounded it as his domain shrunk, making his sense inside the amplification domain stronger. He scanned thoroughly, yet he found no noticeable level. He brought his hand up, then slashed, cutting the tablet in half. No noticeable effect and no strengthening effect, but finally an inscription. I need more in-depth tests to find its use. To my lab I go. Though Yasuo with a hint of anticipation and satisfaction deep in his dark eyes. Suddenly his phone started ringing. He answered the call. Yes. Yasuo, come back home if you are available, we may need you to use your ability to observe something. Silva directly said, his tone grave and the urgency within it apparent. Yasuo narrowed his eyes, I'm free so I'll be there shortly. Then he hanged up. All of Yasuo's stuff flew back to his backpack as he started ruminating, according to the timing, it should be Nanika. Whenever I went back home I spent a lot of time with Aluka though I noticed no change, I guess it's time. A glint of light appeared deep in his eyes as he used perfect domain. The window opened by itself before he disappeared flying at his top speed which became faster since he increased his domain range to 70 meters. In the playground of the Zoldyck family, 3 people could be seen. 2 little kids playing by the sand, one has black hair while the other's hair is white, Aluka and Killua. Close to them is a young blonde woman in a servant suit, she seems to be keeping an eye on them. This is Mitsuba, a servant of the Zoldyck family. Suddenly Aluka turned around facing Mitsuba, then while lifting her hands, she said, "Carry me, Mitsuba." "I mustn't." "Young miss," responded Mitsuba with an apologetic look. Killua didn't pay any attention as he continued playing. Aluka had a blank look on her face but she still asked again, then, "Hold my hand, Mitsuba." "Well, I can't, young miss, I'm sorry." Aluka then went on to ask another request only to get the same answer, then, "Could you give me an upsy daisy?" "I'm sorry, I mustn't do that either, young me." Mitsuba didn't get to finish what she had to say since she got crushed into minced meat leaving only a few body parts and a pool of blood. The same happened to Hassan in the butler's headquarters. Killua seemed a little bit surprised while Aluka was just looking at the scene confused, acting in vast contrast to normal kids, not affected by the gory scene at all. "Aluka." She suddenly heard a call from a familiar voice next to her. She turned around instantly with a happy look on her face. "Yasuo Oni-chan." "Carry me," she said while lifting her hands. Yasuo did just that, he held her in his left arm with a smile on his face, he pinched her cheeks asking, "Did you miss me?" "Me Shizuo." Aluka had a hard time answering with him pinching her cheeks. Hee, cute." Yasuo let out a genuine laugh that turned into a serene smile as he remarked. "Bad Oni-chan," said Aluka with a cute pout. Though while all of this is happening, he is processing every information as his domain is focused on her, yet still no change to be noticed. I scanned her at the cellular level yet she seems normal, perhaps I should try it again when Nanika appears." Chapter 37. I scanned her at a cellular level yet she seems normal, perhaps I should try it again when Nanika appears. "You, Kill, how's your training?" Yasuo then turned to Killua, getting him out of his daze. It's okay," answered Killua awkwardly. He and Yasuo rarely talk or even meet since the latter spends most of his time in his lab or outside, and even if Yasuo visits, he spends the majority of the time with Aluka or Illumi, so they're not close. "Oni-chan. What happened to her?" asked Aluka confused while pointing towards Mitsuba's remains. She just had an unfortunate accident, anyway let's go home." Yasuo noticed a while ago a servant hiding a little bit far with a camera which should relay everything to the surveillance room where the rest of the family should be watching. After all, the one who ordered Mitsuba to refuse all of Aluka's requests is none other than Kikyo. Aluka didn't say anything else as she laid her head on Yasuo's shoulder, she looked quite cozy as she dozed off. Since Yasuo made the vow for increasing his enhancement, the air around him changed, making it more peaceful and serene. This affects anyone close to him, making them feel safe and secure, which basically gives him the ability to get close to people easily. "Kill, you can go to the playroom if you want to play more, I'll send Aluka there when she wakes up," suggested Yasuo with Aluka still in his arm. Killua just nodded then ran heading to the playroom. Yasuo entered the family room finding Silva, Kikyo, and Illumi all waiting there. He also noticed that Zeno and Maha aren't anywhere in the mansion, so they should be on a mission or just doing whatever they like. "I'm back," said Yasuo while taking a seat on the couch. Welcome back. So, for how long were you watching? Did you see it? Asked Silva. Long enough to see everything, so care to explain? Asked Yasuo while putting Aluka next to him laying on his right shoulder, then he started stroking his earring with a hint of interest in his eyes though only he knew it's faked. Silva started explaining in a serious tone. To keep it short, a few days ago, Aluka asked Mitsuba to do 3 simple things: carrying her, going up a staircase, and raising Aluka up in the air. After Mitsuba did what she was told, Aluka's eyes and mouth suddenly turned pitch black. Freaked out by this, Mitsuba called for help. Killua came and changed Aluka back to normal by asking Aluka to make himself go high, which Aluka did. After the accident, Killua had to tell the Zulks about Aluka's secret because Mitsuba had already reported it to them. It turned out that when Aluka had 3 requests fulfilled, her eyes and mouth would turn pitch black, and they would change back to normal only when she heard and granted a wish. As for what you saw today, your mother ordered Mitsuba to refuse all of Aluka's requests, and as you saw, Mitsuba died. Also, a servant informed me that Hasam also died the same way she did at the same time. Lastly, we call the thing Nanika. Silva finished his explanation. So, did you use your Hatsu on her? He then asked. I did and I noticed no difference. She's completely normal though I haven't tried it when she's in that peculiar state since I was far away. Since Yasuo sometimes spar with Silva and Illumi, then they know general knowledge about his abilities and he told them that he has an ability that helps scan things which makes sense considering his interest in researching things. And since he needs to shrink his domain almost completely to create a 15 cm amplification domain allowing him to sense things at a cellular level but he can only use his amplification domain inside the available normal domain. So when he was observing Nanika in action, he wasn't able to use it. From what you said, it appeared that once one fulfills 3 of Aluka's requests, Nanika will assume control over Aluka's body and grant one wish. The wish does not have to come from the one who fulfilled Aluka's requests since as you said Killua was able to ask for a wish even though Mitsuba was the one who fulfilled the requests. Once Yasuo started to talk, all 3 of them paid their undivided attention to him. The relationship between Yasuo and his family is something like this. Mutual appreciation and respect between Yasuo and Silva. Kikyo is extremely fond of Yasuo and appreciates him. She also considers him to be the perfect assassin while Yasuo simply appreciates her and is thankful to her and this is as far as his feelings can go for her. A mother-child bond isn't something he is interested in. His relationship with Killua and Maluki is non-existent as they practically never interact though Maluki seems jealous of how much Kikyo and Silva appreciate Yasuo. As for Illumi, he likes him and likes their interactions and he trusts him a little bit considering his personality, and they kinda understand each other. Lastly, he is fond of Aluka, he sees her as a cute little sister. This is why they take his opinions seriously and because of his intellect and ability. If that person declines or fails to fulfill Aluka's requests 4 times, people will die in this case. 2 people died and their lover so the relationships the person has may have something to do with who dies. Lastly, all deaths occur instantly and simultaneously. Everyone seems to be in deep thoughts for a while as silence enveloped the place while Yasuo just continued to stroke his earring. After a while, Illumi narrowed his eyes. Should I take care of it or just use my ability on it? No, we don't know what creature it is nor do we know where it came from. There might be some unforeseen consequences to doing that Silva directly refused. We should experiment on it more, if it's deemed too dangerous then we can lock it up, added Kikyo. Nah, leave her to me, I won't abuse her power since I don't know the price one has to pay for it. After all, according to my observation, abilities work on the concept of equivalent exchange so the question is what's the price, stated Yasuo calmly. Silva and Illumi both narrowed their eyes. It could be useful to the family and if she asked you for something you can't do then all of us will be in danger, so it's better if it's looked up. states Silva in a resolved tone while Illumi seems to agree. Yasuo looked at this calmly with a serene smile on his face. He turned his face looking at Aluka since he noticed her waking up. Yawn. Good morning. She seemed a bit confused as she said that until she felt herself comfortably laying next to Yasuo. She instantly turned around and with a bright smile, Oni-chan pet me. Instantly everyone but Yasuo narrowed their eyes as they focused on her. Sure, he said as he started patting her, making her whine in satisfaction. Oni-chan, hug me, she said, lifting her hands. With a smile on his face, he hugged her, then she laid comfortably on his chest. This should be the third one since she asked me to lift her back at the playground. Then Nanika manifests itself. It tinges Aluka's sclerae, irises, and mouth pitch black, causing the latter to appear larger. She just looked at Yasuo with darkness overwhelming her face with no sound made in the room. Though Yasuo looked at her with interest in his eyes as a purple bubble appeared surrounding her face. This is his amplification domain, as Yasuo sensed everything inside the bubble, processing all of the information at a cellular level. It feels like there is a mask, more like there is another skin but with no cells, just darkness, remarked Yasuo after observing for a while. He looked at Nanika's face closely, saying, "Well, you are cute, in your own bizarre way." Then a weird smile surfaced on his face as he stated his wish, "Only I can make wishes and I can do so consecutively." Chapter 38. Then a weird smile surfaced on his face as he said his wish, "Only I can make wishes and I can do so consecutively." This left the people in the room stunned, and they became even more baffled as they heard the following. Kay said Nanika as Yasuo stroked her head. Then the strange face turned normal as Aluka's face came to view instantly. Yasuo looked at the look Silva is giving him, just kept his casual smile, saying, "This is safer for us and her. After all, anyone being able to make a wish is much more dangerous, which means that anyone can wish for our death if given the chance." Aluka opened her eyes. She seemed confused about everyone's reactions, though she just ignored it and enjoyed Yasuo's patting. Yasuo stood up with Aluka in his arm while saying, "Send another attendant to watch over her tomorrow. I want to test something." Once he reached the door, he stopped, then turned his head staring at Illumi with a knowing smile, and "Illumi, don't try anything I won't like, since the consequences will be way worse than what she can ever do." He then left. The room was left in silence until the sound of creepy laughter broke it, its source being none other than the overjoyed Kikyo. "Hey, did you see it? That look, hee. Our son has grown beyond our reach, hey." Silva just let out a small sigh while Illumi showed no emotions or any visible response. After taking Aluka to the playroom, leaving her playing with Killua, he flew back to his lab. He landed and sauntered his way as he thought, "I wonder if Killua can order her for a wish even with the wish I made active, and I wonder if I can make an order too." He stood in front of the door to the lab, then lifted his hand, touching the door while releasing a bit of his aura. As his aura made contact with it, it opened by itself. Across the door, several inscriptions could be seen engraved on it. This is a very simple inscription Yasuo came up with. It basically serves as an identification for one's aura. Across the past year, aside from exploring ruins, he spent most of the time in his lab and he researched a few very basic inscriptions. He also engraved the whole building with a strengthening inscription. He did the usual routine, from drinking a few completed potions to preparing new ones and sending the rest to the fridge. What could be noticed is a change to the internals of the place. 2 extra rooms, one is completely empty while the other one has a massively complicated machine inside. This is something he is still working on and will be vital to his plans, though he is still not sure if it will work how he wants it to be. From a certain work table, numerous small engraved needles flew as he sat down in a vast empty area, then more than 10 different metallic shapes and simple machines flew as he focused completely. He extended his aura using Shu on every needle as he started engraving the new inscription he just found on all of the shapes simultaneously. His control over aura is beyond perfect inside his domain, and that goes the same for every Nen category. Just like now, he is using Shu and emission shrouding every needle with his aura from a distance, and this is how he engraved the whole building in a relatively small time. The different metallic shapes are things he usually uses to test inscriptions. Now he wants to test the use of the inscription he just got. After sleeping for about an hour, Yasuo woke up completely energized. He made a coffee and drank it slowly while working at expanding his domain. This is something he does as much as he can since it's vital to him. I haven't come to a conclusion yet, but from my observation, if the inscription really has the use I think it has, then it will make my plans much easier, though from the tests its effectiveness is too low. I need to work on increasing its effectiveness. Perhaps combining it with the strengthening inscription can work, thought Yasuo while taking another sip of coffee. He sat comfortably on the chair, though his mind was also working on other things. Since taking the weighted clothes out after creating his domain, he started another training to make up for it. He basically increases gravity by creating pressure surrounding his body and every organ to every small sensible part of his body. This serves as more advanced weights, making his body more compacted and slim like he wants, while also strengthening every part of his body that would otherwise be hard to strengthen. This also trains his brain to be able to handle larger input, which is an important part of his ability. That's why he uses it pretty much all the time. He just continued training until a message was sent to his phone. He picked up his phone and looked at it, then disappeared, traveling through the air. He stood on a tree branch just watching the bizarre scene play itself while thinking, the greater the wish made to Nanika is, the harder to fulfill the next 3 requests will become. The one that must bear the burden of the next 3 requests is not the one that Nanika granted the wish to, it is the next person that Aluka makes requests to, which means according to the wish I made yesterday, then the burden on the new servant will be immense. The wish he made yesterday allowed him to be the only one able to ask for a wish and consecutively rendering the 5th rule ineffective against him. However, that doesn't mean he has to face the burden, it just means the one who fulfilled the 3 requests can't make a wish unless that person is Yasuo. The new servant assigned to attending Aluka is Yasuha, who has no knowledge of Nanika's existence. She has short light purple hair and is seen wearing the standard Zoldyck butler uniform with Aluka holding her hand. "Yasuha, can you kill yourself?" suddenly asked Aluka out of nowhere, confounding Yasuha. "Don't joke around with such a thing, young miss," responded Yasuha awkwardly, assuming she's just saying things without knowing what they mean. Aluka just looked at her weirdly for a second, making her nervous, then she said, "Then Yasuha, can you cut yourself in half?" Fear started to rise in Yasuha as she said, stuttering, "You, young miss, don't joke around." Yet, Aluka just looked at her with a blank look. "Yasuha, can you give me your brain?" she said, lifting her hands with a genuine look that only worked to make the strange happening even more terrifying. Fear overwhelmed Yasuha as she started staggering backward before falling on her back, stumbling her words. No. The air seemed to change as a tense atmosphere of pure horror enveloped the area. Aluka asked one last request, "Then Yasuha, can you give me all of your internal organs?" Panic and dread were apparent on Yasuha's face as she shouted, "Stop it." Time seemed to slow down as Yasuo appeared, picked Aluka up, then disappeared. Not even a second from him disappearing, the servant got crushed into minced meat, leaving a pool of blood. Yasuo could be seen walking on a green beautiful hill with Aluka in his arms. She snuggled more into his arms though as she turned her head looking at him. What appeared isn't Aluka's face but Nanika's, as the hollow dark eyes stared directly into his. The phenomenon in front of him didn't seem to faze him as he sat down on the green grass with a beautiful view facing him. "We meet again," he said while caressing her head. Nanika just looked at him without saying anything. "Can I call you Nanika? The name represents you well," added Yasuo softly. Nanika hastily nodded, seemingly like the name or like the fact that Yasuo gave her a name. I will ask you a few questions. If you're not willing to answer or don't know the answer, then it doesn't matter." She just nodded. Then he asked if I wished for erasing the entire universe. Will you be able to do that? She looked confused for a second before saying, I don't know. A gleam of light appeared deep in his eyes as he asked another question, what about erasing solely this world, only for her to answer with the same thing? Yasuo narrowed his eyes. Let me rephrase it, can you make what we're living on, planet or whatever, self-destruct? She had a blank look on her face for a while before answering softly, not seeming to understand the implications of her answer, I. A small smile painted Yasuo's pale face as he thought, that gave me so much information. Everything is starting to intertwine, painting a fascinating picture. The painting of the world. The smile turned into a small laugher as he gently kissed her forehead. Ha ha ha, your brother is so smart. Chapter 39. The smile turned into a small laugher as he kissed her forehead. Ha ha ha, your brother is so smart. Nanako looked blank for a second before hugging him tightly and burying her face in his chest, perhaps embarrassed. Yasuo stroked his chin as he thought about an essential wish for his plans he has to make. Making it now will give me more peace of mind, but her safety comes first, and with the vow I made, anyone I'm fond of getting hurt could be dangerous. I guess I'm kinda similar to Illumi, but this vow will serve me better anyway. Nanaka, for the wish, I want you and Aluka to have the ability to teleport to me in certain cases, and you can teleport back. First, if either of you missed me or just want to see me unless I'm busy or I'm in a situation where you're not allowed to teleport to me. Second, if either of you is on the verge of getting hurt physically or emotionally, no matter the degree of the harm, in this case, you'll always teleport to me. Third, you'll always teleport to me when you're in the wish-granting mode. So is such a wish possible? Then inquired Yasuo while patting her head. Nanaka seemed to blank out for a second before saying, K. In his past life, Yasuo lived a very happy life. He worked hard to make it happy, and his passion only worked to fuel this happiness. He had very good parents that took care of him until he went on his own. They died a few years before he did. As for what their death made him feel, that remains unknown, as whatever he felt, he didn't show. He is the kind that keeps every negative emotion to himself but doesn't shy out on showing when he is happy. He had a few friends, though none of them are close. He is just not the kind that has a need for friends, and he never went out of his way to. He had a few relationships, though nothing serious. He was young, so he didn't want to give too much time to growing a relationship with someone and focused mostly on his work while having flings from time to time. He planned to have a family when he thinks it's time. The idea of having a cute daughter is tempting to him, and to an extent, that's what he considers Aluka. I still have a question, so stay for a while, okay? She nodded, hearing his gentle words. Why do you grant wishes? What's in it for you? It couldn't be as simple as the 3 requests or the consequences of refusing 4 requests, he questioned curiously. I don't know, I just feel like I have to, Nanaka responded in her usual emotionless tone. Interesting. What is the reason you never ask our family except for my and Killawa's requests? And you also only ask us simple requests that we'll do without you asking. Nanaka and Aluka would be sad if anything bad happened to you. Emotions surface on her face as she cutely responded before again burying her face in his chest. Hee, that's my good girl. He let out a small laugh as Aluka returned. She seemed confused as she looked around. Oni-chan, where are we? In a beautiful place. Did you feel anything before waking up now? Yasuo. A bright smile surfaced on her face as she hugged him tightly, happy. So just like in the story, she feels what Nanaka feels. Thought Yasuo with a smile on his face. Then he said, want me to show you a magic trick? Happiness overwhelmed Aluka's face as she said in a cheerful tone, yay, show me. Suddenly she started floating from his arms until she hovered a few meters above the ground. Wah, I'm gonna fall. Panic could be heard in her voice. Oh. You don't have any trust in your big brother, said Yasuo, faking disappointment in his voice. That seems to calm her down, as she said while also trying to move in the air to him, though she didn't seem to be able to. I trust Big Brother so much. A mischievous smile appeared on his face as he said, I gave you the ability to fly as long as you're close to me, you just have to point your hands in the direction you want to fly to. A joyful expression appeared on her face as she pointed in a certain direction while happily shouting, fly. And fly she did. She flew all around, though only within Yasuo's domain. I'm flying. Yasuo just smiled as he started to think about his plans for the next year. I pretty much explore almost all of the known ruins, so I will leave the rest later. I will just spend the next year here with Aluka, mostly focusing on expanding my domain range and finish creating the sub-ability I intended for Violet Rose. I should also order a Joystation console and a Greed Island copy. The Greed Island game was released 3 years ago, but I didn't have the funds to purchase it since I was still creating my lab and buying resources, and since it costs about 5.8 billion Jenny. But most importantly, I should try completing the machine this year. I should also use Ren on it and improve on the inscription before engraving it on it. Now that I think about it, it's my invention, so I should name it, let's call it Genetic Elixir Machine. And with that, Yasuo closed his eyes and he dozed off. On a vast green hill, a cozy-looking wooden house could be seen. Close to it is a large metallic building that looks to be completely engraved in strange inscriptions. Close to the house in a beautiful-looking green land is a flying Aluka, though she looks a little bit different. She has long black hair instead of the short unkempt hair she had, blue eyes. Laughter could be heard from her from time to time as a bright smile painted her face. This is the 4-year-old Aluka. She seems to be flying for any place she points into until she suddenly pointed in a certain direction while shouting, Oni-chan. She flew in that direction until she came into contact with a person laying there hugging him tightly. The said person is a 17-year-old Yasuo. His dark hair grew a little bit longer, reaching his eye level, though not enough to his pitch-black eyes. 2 years passing was enough for there to be a noticeable physique change as he reached 187 centimeters of height. He was wearing a long-sleeved white shirt with black pants and his usual favorite, black combat boots. He was stroking a long chain earring on his left ear as Aluka hugged him, bringing a smile to his pale face. Did you play enough? She nodded to his gentle question. He then stopped trying to expand his domain range, which is something he does all the time since his domain range is vital to his ability. He flew back to his house, which is very close, taking only a few seconds to do so. He floated down in front of his house with Aluka in his arm, then he went in. His domain range progressed significantly across the last 2 years, enveloping about 110 meters. This progress came at the cost of neglecting increasing his aura pool, though it increased a bit but nowhere near the notable increase his domain range had. But with the previous years of training, his aura amount should be somewhere in between 150,000 and 200,000 aura points, and it's important to note that he found that the larger his aura pool became, the harder it is to increase. That's why his domain can envelop even his whole lab from his house, and from his 10 a strand of Nen moved out of the house until it made contact with the lab door. And once it made contact, the lab door opened by itself, then few potions flew from the lab to his house. Here, drink these. He handed a potion to Aluka after putting her down on the couch, and she drank it without hesitation as if it's an everyday routine. He then drank one that looks the same and another one that has poison. All this is happening while part of his mind is working on the lab as things flew everywhere inside, preparing a few things. Aluka, do you want to go outside? Suddenly Yasuo asked, surprising Aluka, then she questioned in anticipation, really? Can we? A smile appeared on his face as he softly affirmed, sure we can. There is this beautiful large island that has a lot of wonderful creatures and games we can play. It's called Greed Island. Chapter 40. A smile appeared on his face as he softly affirmed, sure we can. There is this beautiful large island that has a lot of wonderful creatures and games we can play. It's called Greed Island. Yasuo planned on going to Greed Island a year ago after finishing everything he had to do, but the genetic elixir machine proved to be more of a challenge than he thought. So he had to spend much more time working on it, especially since the new inscription proved to be more beneficial than he first thought. The machine he created consists of 3 parts: a large metal ball that's able to be opened and closed with several large extractor blades neatly constructed inside. It's connected to another smaller one under it, though this one seems to be completely empty, the same as the smaller one under it. One thing they share in common though is that they're almost completely engraved in strange inscriptions and the obvious trace of Nen all around it. As for its use, only time will tell. Also, since they started the advanced type of training for Killua about 1.5 years ago, he took Aluka to move into his house and she won't have anyone to play with there, and since none of them consider her to be human, so it's better for her to live with him. And now, Yasuo could be seen sitting on a chair taking a sip of coffee from time to time as he pondered about a few things while Aluka is playing with a few dolls near him. She has only made the requests one time, granting me the ability to make a wish which I left for later, finally giving me peace of mind. The most likely reason is that she didn't want the burden to fall on me, since she'll have to ask for things I can't deliver, which means my death, so she'll probably make the requests when she meets someone else if the conditions are met, though that's unlikely to happen until I made my wish. Yasuo stroked his earring as a gleam of light appeared deep in them. While I'm sure I can make commands without the need to fulfill the requests, the risks are too high for me and for her, and I don't know if there is any repercussion for making her stop asking for requests. After all, she said she feels like she has to ask for requests and grant wishes. I'll try to keep it to a minimum, as I'm not interested in making any other wish. I have all the information I need, now I just need more preparation before my simple plans unfold themselves. He then stood up, used his domain to make sure everything is in place. Aluka, just like I told you, teleport to me in 20 minutes just like I taught you to, okay? He noticed she was nodding repeatedly, unable to hide the excitement she's feeling. He then went out of the house only to enter the lab with the door closing tightly behind him. The difference that could easily be noticed is no creature being in the lab nor any plants being in there. Too bad the experiment for making creatures awaken and failed, or just needed too much time. Perhaps I'll try it again later. All that's left is several machines with a few work tables designated for creating potions, one room for poison purposes. He leaves his daggers from time to time in this room to make them more fatal. And 2 other rooms. One is the one where the genetic elixir machine is constructed, while the other one is completely empty. Its use remains unknown for now. There is another specific table with a few items on it, a joystation console with a copy of Greed Island inside, and a memory card allowing the players to save their progress. Greed Island is a famous video game in the world. It is played on the joystation console but is out of print, costing more than 5 billion at launch, and the price is only going to go up. The game transports its players' physical bodies into the world of Greed Island, only releasing them when they die, at which point they die in real life too, win, or use a special card in the game that lets them out. It can only be played by people who can use Nen. There is no limit to how many people can enter the game, and it is possible to play it without a memory card. However, to save one's progress a memory card is needed. Using a multi-tap, it is possible for multiple people to use one save file to enter the game. In actuality, it is a real place that is an island located east of the Yorbian continent. A backpack flew from another work table. He put it on, then inserted the memory card. Ren instantly his aura shrouded the console, and not even a split second later, he vanished. He instantly appeared in a weird-looking room, and the first thing he did is to analyze everything, especially the inscription all around. There are mostly similar to the ones I have with little differences. But teleportation, it's more like I activated a condition to appear here using my aura as fuel. In order for the inscriptions to be effective, one has to inscribe them with a picture of what he wants in mind and control his Nen to deliver that picture through willpower, and while one can simply inscribe an inscription without the process, the results will be unsatisfactory. Also, for example, If one visualized a concealment effect while inscribing a strengthening inscription, the results will be a much weaker strengthening effect. The inscription's effects are basically how Nen interacts with the said inscriptions, producing particular results, and since Nen is an extension of one's willpower, then that also plays a vital role in making those effects notable. Yasuo stroked his earring while thinking in his mind, those little differences make a lot variation, though the most vital thing is the inscriber's visualization during the process, which make it hard to predict the resulting effect, especially for something as complex as Greed Island. There is bound to be several conditions and limitation to produce these effects. He then went through the door while memorizing everything around, from the structure to the strange engravings all around. Welcome to Greed Island. The one who welcomed him is a young woman with a slim figure, big azure eyes, and long, silver hair parted in two ponytails by a helmet with eye motifs. This is Ada, the game master in charge of players entering the game. She looked at him then said, "Would you like for me to explain the rules of the game?" To which he nodded, though not before instructing, "Keep it short. Everyone who has this ring can use two keywords, book, which allow them to summon a book in which they can store the cards. Also, all the items you find in the game can be converted into cards." She explained while throwing a silver ring to me with 3 of what looks like green jewels on it, and it looks inscribed with several inscriptions from the inside. The goal of the game is to complete the book, though you must only fill the slots with the numbers on them, amounting to 100 slots. The rest are free slots in which you can store any card in. When you acquire an item, it will immediately turn into a card. If you want to turn it back, use the last keyword, gain, but if you do this, the item will no longer be able to turn into a card again, though another player can do so unless the limit of transformation for the card is reached. The limit is 3 transformations. One last thing, if you acquire an item and it turned into a card, you'll have 1 minute to store it in the book before it turned into an item again, Ada continued to explain in an almost machine-like voice. It's important to note that you have been presented with the bare minimum of information, the rest are for you to find out. Good luck on your quest and please use the stairs. She finished her explanation in the same unchanging monotone as she pointed at the stairs that just appeared leading down. He narrowed his eyes as he went down and remarked in his mind, "Interesting." The time she took explaining was more than enough for him to commit every inscription here to his memory, and he noticed something. There is no inscription similar to the divine inscription shown in the story on. I guess I have to pay the pirate boxer a visit. Once he went down, what appeared before him is vast grassy plains where players teleport to when they enter the Greed Island game. It's called Shiso Tree. Suddenly Yasuo looked in a certain direction. "I'm being watched, huh?" The same happened in the story, which makes sense, just 2 people north from here, about 2 miles away. Yasuo lifted his hand up and looked at the ring that has several mysterious inscriptions inside with a smile of interest surfacing on his face. "If I inscribe the same inscriptions on another ring, will that ring work the same, I wonder?" Chapter 41. Yasuo lifted his hand up and looked at the ring with a smile of interest surfacing on his face. "If I inscribe the same inscriptions on the ring on another ring, will that ring work the same, I wonder?" He walked through the grassy land slowly as if waiting for something until he suddenly stopped, turned around, and looked in a certain direction. "Still following me, huh? Should I just kill them?" After that, he started walking in that direction, though he stopped once he saw 2 figures flying away from that direction. Why did they escape? I'm sure my killing intent hasn't leaked and they even used a spell card. Well, whatever, but I need a few spell cards, so I should go to the Badlands to make some money. It should be just about a minute left. Then he continued moving slowly. Once a minute passed and exactly about 20 minutes since entering Greed Island, in front of him and out of nowhere, Aluka appeared in the air, though before she started falling, he controlled her as to stay hovering in the air. The first thing she did is to ask with a spoiled manner, "Oniai-chan shoulder ride?" He smiled as he controlled her to fly to his shoulders until she comfortably sat down, looking down on the green grassy lands all around with sparkling eyes. There was something Yasuo found across the past 2 years, Aluka can't learn Nen, or more like she can't manipulate it at all, nor can she open her aura nodes which limited her, leaving her just like a normal person. Perhaps Nanika existing in her had something to do with it, or the one Nanika existing cannot use Nen as a condition in itself. Suddenly Yasuo started looking around. Someone is watching me again, though it's most likely a game master, as I feel watched from everywhere. So they did detect her appearing, or more like the game is programmed to detect anyone appearing on the island or near it without the way it was intended to, so what will they do? Suddenly he looked at a certain way, noticing someone flying his way. Is that a game master or just a player? Also, the feeling of being watched disappeared. The figure flew down about 20 meters from him. Aluka didn't seem to care as she just looked around. Yasuo looked at him, already coming to the conclusion that the person is a player. In front of him is a man with a long white coat, wavy orange hair, and small black eyes. A wide smile painted the said person's face. Once he came to the conclusion that Yasuo is a noob, since he noticed him not calling book. The man observed only for a second before inserting a card in a slot at the end of the binder. Your name is Yasuo, and you just joined the game, so it's useless to even try. He brought a card from his binder, then he said, trace on, attack on Yasuo. Yet nothing happened, leaving him baffled and confused until he noticed that the card in his hand has disappeared. He lifted his face looking at Yasuo, noticing him having the card in his hand. My first card, book. As he said that, his empty binder appeared floating in front of him. He placed the card in one of the 45 free slots. Wah! Oni-chan, how did you do that? Yasuo just laughed off, saying, I'll get one for you as well later. It took the man a while to react. He tried to pick another card, though before he could, he felt the touch of cold metal at his neck, leaving drops of sweat coming down his spine, and terror became apparent on his face. He noticed the source, a small black dagger with an aura of dreadfulness surrounding it. The dagger is poisonous. It'll take seconds to die if it leaves even a small cut. If your muscles even flinch, or if I felt even a hint of negative intent, you're dead, threatened Yasuo emotionlessly. Now do as I say. You'll pick every card you have in your left hand one by one. If you try to make even the faintest sound, you're dead, stated Yasuo in the same cold tone, with a casual smile on his face, yet an air of chillness surrounded him, eliminating any thoughts of fighting back the man had in mind. What Yasuo found from his observation is that it's almost impossible for him to control the binder with his current input capacity. His brain just can't handle the input needed to control it, and that says a lot considering his input capacity reached about 2,500 aura points per second. He also found that controlling the cards that are inserted in the slots, while not as hard as controlling the binder, it'll still take a toll on his mind to control just one at a time, since the input needed is higher by a little than his input capacity. But if the card is not inserted in the binder, its controlling cost becomes negligible. The most likely reason Yasuo came up with is that Greed Island functions as a Hatsu with a lot of conditions allowing it to work. And with 11 Nen users maintaining it, the inscription acting as a support or a foundation, especially the divine script, since it strengthens one's Nen. So controlling a Hatsu that's not his is bound to be costing, even if it's just a part of it. The player facing Yasuo picked the cards one by one as told. Once each card left the binder, it instantly flies away to Yasuo's binder. He continued the process until he said, stuttering his words with sweat coming down his face, That's it. To which Yasuo just gave him a harmless smile while saying, there is still 5 more in the imposed slots, so continue. Chills came down the player's spine as he wondered how he knows, confused and fearful. He then complied, his words becoming even more incoherent as horror overwhelmed him. Why? Yes. While Yasuo can't control the binder for now, he can still sense everything in it just the same, though he can't determine which cards are which since they're Nen objects, so he can't determine it by sensing the ink like usual since they don't have any. The moment he acquired all the cards, The dagger cut through the player's neck, killing him instantly as Yasuo appeared next to him with his hand shining purple and slashed while the body was still standing, sending it to the unknown void. The only thing left is the ring that flew to Yasuo's hand as a purple bubble surrounded it, with his 110 meters domain shrinking to about 2 meters around him. He focused completely on preserving the ring as he felt a resistance slowly growing, though it's still within his capacity. Until he frowned, noticing that while he can keep it from getting destroyed, he'll need to continually consume aura to do so. He retracted his amplification domain and with it, the ring got destroyed, disintegrating into nothingness and leaving a few sparkling nen bubbles that soon disappeared as well. Yasuo let out a sigh. I'm too weak, I guess I have to cheat the game by other ways then. He then looked through all the cards he got, noticing only 8 imposed slot cards, 15 spell cards, and 26 useless unrestricted cards. He first controlled Aluka down from his shoulders. Go play around if you want, just don't go far. He then picked one unrestricted card, Hatsu Violet Rose M equals 0, T equals 2. Then he slashed through the card with it as the target, leaving a purple line on it. The line soon disappeared, leaving no damage thanks to the 0 multipliers. A gleam of light appeared deep in his eyes as he thought, so I can deal infinite damage to the cards, huh? He again used his Hatsu and slashed through it, the difference being that the multiplier is set to 10. Once the timer ended, the card disappeared, leaving no trace. Now for the most important test. The target I will set this time will be vastly different than the last. He thought as he picked another card with a silver of expectation within his eyes. It's time to test the limits of my ability, if it has any in the first place. Chapter 42. Now for the most important test. The target I will set this time will be vastly different than the last. He thought as he picked another card with a silver of expectation within his eyes. It's time to test the limits of my Hatsu, if it has any in the first place. Suddenly time seems to slow down as he concentrated a large amount of aura on his right hand, creating a dark bubble around it, a bubble of pure destruction. Then he narrowed his eyes as he used his control domain to stabilize the card in the air in front of him after he activated a perfect 2 meters amplification domain. Then he attacked, activating his Hatsu only when his punch was less than an inch from the card. Violet Rose M equals 0, T equals 5. Purple lines appeared all around his arms as his punch went through the card, and with it, all the aura he concentrated on his hand disappeared as the card shined purple. He didn't stop there as he used Deadly Snake, making his hands sharp. He started slashing through the card continuously while using his domain control to control himself, allowing him to be much faster, surpassing the hypersonic level of speed. To an outsider, it will look like a card hovering in the air that turned completely purple instantly as its radiance continued to grow until it became a shining beacon in the grassy lands. Time seems to move normally again as he stopped, and with it, the purple lines on his arms disappeared. A wide smile slowly surfaced on his face, a smile that soon turned to a loud laugher. Ha 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 ha. He brought his right hand to his face, hiding most of it, leaving solely his deep pitch black right eye reflecting the card that still hovered in front of him, though what he wanted to hide is the devilish smile that can bring chills to anyone seeing it, a smile that gives an illusion as if the whole world is under his control. It worked. My ability can target anything, even concepts. That's what I intended, but seeing it work brought a whole new level of satisfaction to me. So this confirms my plans being viable. My chances are possibly much higher than predicted. Hee, I'm so cool. Oni-chan is so cool. Suddenly Aluka, who is running back, shouted, hearing his words of happiness and satisfaction. I know, right, shoulder ride? Offered Yasuo as a casual smile returned to his pale face. Yup. As soon as she said that, she flew to his shoulder. Let's visit a nearby city, we can have lunch there. Then he headed in a certain direction, passing large distances with each step, or more like a jump, enjoying the scenery along the way. This test was vital to his plans because while he created his enhancement ability with a certain purpose in mind, he still didn't know if it will work as intended. So he decided to test it on a large-scale target similar to the intended target. But how can he test it on such a thing? The answer he found is Greed Island. It's the closest thing available and safe to research on he can find. He first tested whether he can target an individual card, then he saw if he can erase it. The last test and the most important one is to see whether he can target Greed Island. That's right, the target he said is Greed Island. According to a theory of his, Greed Island is similar to a Hatsu with most of the things in it being a part of it, the card being one of them. So if he targets Greed Island through the card with his Hatsu, and considering his Hatsu spreads damage equally, then he can erase Greed Island completely if he can deliver enough damage fulfilling the requirement. That's why he set the multiplier to 0, he knows that if he can't deliver enough damage to fulfill the requirement, the damage will be returned to him, so he decided to first see how much he can deal in 5 seconds. But what he found the most interesting is that he isn't far off from being able to satisfy the requirement for the multiplier 4, and he can already fulfill the requirement for the multiplier 3. Of course, something as big as Greed Island will need a much higher multiplier to erase it in one Violet Rose activation, and even if he can fulfill the multiplier 4, it still won't be anywhere near enough to erase the whole game. He'll need to repeatedly fulfill the requirement for a long time unless he used the sub-ability of his enhancement ability. This gave him the confirmation he needed to go ahead with his main plans. After all, the backup plans he planned aren't as effective and are too risky. He can of course test the ability on other concepts such as time and space since they're basically everywhere, but he found a hurdle here. He needs a conduit to target concepts just like he used the card as a conduit to target the whole island, but time and space have none. They're illusionary concepts, so how can he target them if he so needed? Well, he happened to have an ability that will thoroughly break this hurdle. His control domain. As long as he can clearly sense those concepts, then he can target them ignoring that annoying requirement. He of course knows he will be able to sense those concepts. He created his ability with this in mind. The stronger he is, the stronger his sense will become, and with his amplification domain, perhaps, sensing such concepts isn't so far off. The Badlands is a series of hills composed of eroded sedimentary rocks in dry terrain with minimal vegetation and inhabited by many monsters. Yasuo and Aluka could be seen sitting on the top of a specific hill, with Aluka eating an ice cream and Yasuo just stroking his earring while contemplating a few things. After Yasuo finished his test, he headed to the nearest city, which is Rubicuda, another starting town in the game because of its short distance from the island's main entrance. He and Aluka had lunch there using the money of the player he took everything from. Among the unrestricted cards he took is a detailed map of the island. He memorized the map, then headed there. Aluka, stay here for now, if you want anything just teleport to me, she nodded as he jumped down until he hovered 15 meters above the ground. He then flew at that level with the 2 black daggers flying around him. Once his domain came in contact with anything, the daggers attack at a terrifying speed, leaving only cards that flew to him taking place in the free slots of his binder. The Badlands is inhabited by a number of monsters. Once you defeat them, you get a card that you can sell for money that can be used in Greed Island, since normally Jenny isn't usable here. The money here is in the form of Jenny cards, and there are banks where you can leave money. He has been in the Badlands for about a week, basically eliminating every monster he finds, then he waits until the monsters respawn and do the same again, then he sells them, getting Jenny cards he needs. He targeted every monster's weakness from Cyclops to Melanin lizards to wolf packs. Of course, there are monsters that need specific actions to get their cards, such as bubble horses that need to be grabbed. There are also radio rats that one just needs to look at them for them to faint, turning into cards, though they can manipulate objects using Nen from far away, making it hard for beginners to get them. He continued collecting cards until he found something interesting. Something that brought a smile to his face, something that looks like a small black round fluffy puffball with a tail and skinny legs. This is a hyper puffball, a small monster of Greed Island. Its attacks are extremely weak, but the creature has a durable body, though its most notable ability is bouncing at a hypersonic speed, making it almost impossible to catch if not for its bouncing trajectory having a pattern allowing players to anticipate its moves. He hovered in the air, allowing it to bounce around without using his control domain to control it. He could clearly feel its every movement with his domain as if it's moving slowly, and he can keep up with it to a certain extent with his eyes. Suddenly the hyper puffball froze in the air, then flew to him. He touched, making it turned into a card. Netaro's attack speed should easily be above the hypersonic, and so is mine. I'm pretty sure my general speed surpassed his and possibly my attacking speed as well, considering he needs to do a praying motion before attacking. However, he does have the range advantage if I don't consider my control domain as a factor. For now, I will take advantage of Greed Island to increase my brain input capacity. Okay hunters. Little break time again. Already said the same thing like 3 times now, but hope y'all are enjoying the fanfic lol. Not very creative, I know. Anyone who just agreed I wasn't creative. Hope you stub your toe any time this week. Let's keep going. Chapter 43. He instantly disappeared, flying to the magic city of Macedora, the only place on the island where spell cards can be purchased. Once he reached the city, he headed to the spell card shop. There he found the shop NPC, a blonde beautiful girl with blue eyes. She welcomed him with a delightful tone. Welcome to the Macedora spell shop. Hi, I'd like to sell monster cards and a few other cards and buy a few card packs. Right away. Please note that you can only open the card packs in the shop. Also, you're recommended to put the cards you get in the binder before you leave, otherwise they'll disappear the moment you leave, the shop NPC warned. Yasuo just nodded, then proceeded to sell most of the cards he has, from the monster cards to the cards he took to the players, leaving only the spell cards, since none of the restricted cards he had is of any use to him. He started opening the packs, taking all the spell cards while selling other cards that he deemed not interesting. He continued with the process until he had all the 40 spell cards, filling 40 slots of the 45 free slots in his binder. He added 2 mimic cards and 2 clone cards, leaving only 1 free slot. Yasuo then said to the shop NPC, I'd like to trade for Angel's Breath. Trading for Breath's Angel requires all the 40 spell cards. If the maximum transformation limit has been reached, you'll be given a voucher card. This card is given to a player who has fulfilled the requirements to obtain Angel's Breath card, but its maximum transformation limit has been reached. When a new slot becomes available, this card will transform into a Breath of Archangel. Yasuo nodded, confirming the trade and getting the card, which brought a smile to his face as he observed it. Well, the transformation limit hasn't been reached. That's lucky. He then put it in its designated slot. Though he didn't finish just yet, as he continued until he used almost all the money he got from the player and from all the monster cards he sold, but with that, he completed another 40 spell card set. I want to trade for another Angel's Breath. The maximum transformation limit has been reached, so you'll receive a voucher card until Angel's Breath becomes available, stated the shop's NPC in a monotone. So, 2 other people on Greed Island have Angel's Breath on them, huh? Well, I got one, and with the voucher and the 4 spell cards, it should be enough. He then put the voucher card on one of the free slots. As he exited the shop, Aluka appeared next to him, then hugged him, saying in a spoiled tone, Oni-chan, I'm sleepy. He patted her while saying softly, teleport back home. Killua should be in the mansion. Spend some time with him before he is sent to continue his training far away, though if you want to see me, then you know what to do. She nodded repeatedly, then kissed his cheek while saying loudly, hee hee, love you so much, then disappeared like a fleeting breeze, leaving a small smile on his face. Yasuo stroked his earring as he started contemplating, I was planning to send her back anyway until I finish my experiment. But now, if my experiment succeeds, then I will have the possibility of fulfilling the condition of my conjuration ability several times if I play my cards right. He then flew back to the Badlands with his top speed. Once he reached there and found a well-hidden place, he picked a card from the 4 cards in the binder's designated slots. The card is Hideout Realtor. It allows the caster to summon a hideout realtor. The agent you summon will build a secret room in any place of your choosing. This allows the player to hide and remain undetected from unsuspecting people. Once the hideout was completed, he entered it closing the door. He noticed it just a plain room with a couch and a table, and a few other things. He sat down in a random place in the room in a meditative position after taking his shirt and his backpack off. Yasuo then closed his pitch-black eyes, focusing his senses to the extreme. He made sure no one is watching and double-checked repeatedly, then started his experiment. He first brought the two mimic cards. They basically transform a card into a copy of a target card that the caster already owns. It fails if the target card's transformation limits are already exceeded. Mimic onto Angel's Breath. He repeated the process another time before reaching the transformation limit, leaving him with 3 Angel's Breath cards. Now, let's see what type of commands you can take. While saying, he picked one of Angel's Breath cards and said, "Game." Slowly the card turned into the figure of an angelic woman floating in the air as she said with a detached tone, "What is your wish?" "I want you to heal me once I reach a critical condition. Is such a wish possible?" "Not a problem." That brought a smile to Yasuo's face as activated the amplification domain, shrinking his domain by 90 meters, leaving only 20 meters. He then made a perfect domain, making his amplification domain equal to his domain with a 20 meters radius. An emotionless expression overwhelmed his face as an air of chillness surrounding him, signifying just how focused he is. And with that, a massive pressure enveloped the whole room and anything close to it, as everything in the room from the couch to the table flew until they hovered in front of him. The pressure only continued to increase, though it's still within his brain's input capacity. The process continued until the pressure created a sphere of all the items in front of him. He compressed everything, changing their shape into a rainbow ball that continued to get smaller and smaller as the pressure increased. Once it reached a certain extent, even the room started getting affected, though. By the time a noticeable change was noticed as the room started to get warped around itself, the input already exceeded his brain's capacity, yet he continued to increase the pressure. The room warped around the ball, avoiding him as he floated in the air in a meditative position in the middle of the desert while still sensing if anyone is watching. Blood could be seen coming down his nose, mouth, and ears, to the point that blood even came down from his eyes, yet he still continued to increase the pressure, turning everything within 20 meters radius to a soft-looking ball that continued to get smaller. And with it, the damage to his brain increased, making him a little lightheaded, yet his expression never changed. Once he reached a critical state and was on the brink of collapse, the angel let out a breath as specks of light surrounded him, healing any and every injury he has. This is why he needed Angel's Breath. She cures one person of all wounds and ills, restoring them to perfect health. Yasuo's brain input capacity only had a small increase across the years, the reason being is him never pushing his brain limits too much. After all, the human brain is just too frail. Any small damage to it can result in some unforeseen consequences. He stopped increasing the pressure, though it's still putting a heavy toll on his mind. Then he took another Angel's Breath card, Game. Once the angel appeared, he repeated the same wish, then started increasing the pressure. A smooth rainbow-colored ball was hovering in front of him with a diameter of 15 meters, and the latter only continued to decrease as the pressure increased to an astonishing level, forcing the particles to get closer to each other more and more. He used every Angel's Breath card he has, allowing the voucher card to turn into another Angel's Breath, to which he used the 2 clone cards to copy and continue the process again. By the time the light of dawn shone upon his pitch-black eyes, the ball became small enough to fit in his hands as it floated above his right hand, mostly consisting of metal from the Hideout Realtor. Compressing that metal to such a degree was definitely a challenge, especially considering it's an actual card and is part of Greed Island, making the process much harder, which is exactly what he wanted. Slowly, his lips curved into a beautiful smile, signifying his satisfaction while noting the slight increase in his domain range. Chapter 44. By the time the light of dawn shone upon his pitch-black eyes, The ball became small enough to fit in his hands as it floated above his right hand. Slowly his lips curved into a beautiful smile signifying his satisfaction while noting the slight increase in his domain range. Now, I just have to get more Angel's Breath cards and repeat the same process as much as I can, but first I must regenerate my aura. I basically expended my entire aura pool. Then he just sat down with no movement until he recovered enough Nen for his next goal. Following this, he destroyed a rock close to him into several small stones. Once they touched the ground, they turned into cards before one of them flew until it hovered in front of him. A purple semi-transparent bubble surrounded him as he activated a perfect 2 meters amplification domain. Then he started concentrating most of his Nen to his hands, forming a black sphere around them. Hatsu Violet Rose, M equals 4, T equals 5, Sub-ability, Delayed Rose Target, Greed Island. Then he attacked using his muscle strength with the combination of controlling himself with his domain, pushing his speed to an astonishing level much higher than his previous level. His attacks seemed to create a gust of sharp winds that went on for hundreds of meters, though because of his speed that surpassed the hypersonic level by far, the sound of the winds seemed to be so slow in comparison. Once the timer ended, he stopped, yet the wind still howled in the distance for a while after. The card still floated in front of him completely purple, not disappearing even after the timer ended. Though what could be noticed is the purple lines spreading across several miles around him all over the land and the hills. The purple line looked like poison spreading its clutches on this land, slowly expanding as if trying to paint the whole island in its color. A gleam of light speared deep in Yasuo's eyes as he thought, my input capacity increased so much, though I noticed the more it increased the harder it is to increase more. My brain is reaching its limits. Predictable, that's what my plans and researches are for. Breaking my limits. He then observed the purple lines everywhere while stroking his earring. My enhancement Hatsu is working as intended, it just needs time to spread, making the returns for my conjuration Hatsu bigger. This is the result of a sub-ability of my enhancement called Delayed Rose, which makes it possible for me to deal the damage whenever I want, with the benefit of the damage I dealt increasing by 1% of the total damage every 6 hours. But I can't use Delayed Rose again on the same target if it's already in effect. And the only way to counter it is to eliminate the user or make him cancel it. Hatsu Delayed Rose sub-ability of Violet Rose. The user has to set the timer, multiplier, and the target just like the normal ability. The user has to do as much damage as possible in the span of 5 seconds max. Timer. Once the timer ended, the overall damage multiplied will keep increasing by 1% of the overall damage at that specific point every 6 hours. The damage 1% represents will differ as time passes, since every 6 hours the damage will increase, changing what the 1% represents with it. If the ability is already in effect on a specific target, then it can't be used on that same target again, but it can be used on other targets. The user can deal the damage the ability accumulated wherever the user wants from anywhere. The user can naturally know how much damage has accumulated whenever the user wants. It's much harder to fulfill the requirements, as the user's attacks in this case will inflict lower damage than normal depending on the target's strength. Once Yasuo used his Hatsu on the island, he sat down, closed his eyes, and just waited for a few days while using in the entire time, making the purple lines spreading in the island undetectable unless one used Gyo. Still, it's bound to be found. He waited until his senses picked up something. He then noticed someone flying with a light ball surrounding the person. The same effect some cards have in Greed Island. They reacted faster than I thought, oh well. Once the large ball of light fell in front of him, what appeared is a tall, extremely well-built man with broad shoulders and large muscles spanning his entire body. This is Razor, one of the 11 game masters. He looked around using Gyo, noticing that the purple lines are concentrated more in here. He then looked at Yasuo while narrowing his eyes. You're quite the troublemaker. You first brought someone to the game without going through the right way, though we decided to ignore it since the said person isn't a Nen user. Now you're doing this. Yasuo looked at him saying, I'm just testing my ability, there are no rules against this I believe. Razor then said in a laid-back and friendly tone, showing little to no animosity, there isn't, but that doesn't stop me from using my power as a game master to send you away. With that, he showed a card with ruler only written on it. This is a Game Master only card which allows the caster to transport any elements in Greed Island to a random location of the Asian continent. If you can stop what you're doing then I'll leave, if not, I'll have to send you away. Yasuo just casually smiled while saying, sending me away won't change anything. Razor let out a sigh, troublesome huh? You did this and waited for someone to get here or me specifically, so what's your goal? From the information I got, defeating you is the key to getting an important card, but 15 players are needed and I'm not interested in gathering this number of people, so I want to take a shortcut, Yasuo. Yasuo then continued, so how about this, we'll fight here, if you win, I'll cancel my ability and I'll owe you one, if I win you'll owe me one. I am planning on visiting the pirates den later, so I might use it at that time. Razor narrowed his eyes while saying, you can't expect me to believe you did all of this for a card, but as long as you don't ask for anything I can't deliver or something I don't want to do then I accept. There seems to be a hint of surprise in Yasuo's eyes. Oh, I didn't expect you to accept so easily. Razor with a friendly smile, well, someone offered me a similar deal in the past, so why not? With that, his friendly expression turned into a stern one as he said, I don't know exactly how strong you are, but that by itself should testify to your strength, so I won't hold back, nor should you. Yasuo then stood up while using Ken, the defensive form of Ren, as Razor did the same, though Yasuo used just enough aura to match Razor's. From afar, what could be seen is two figures standing in the desert facing each other with the purple aura surrounding them both, though one is darker than the other. Then Razor disappeared only to appear close to Yasuo, who stood his ground as Razor readied his punch with a high amount of aura concentrating on his punching hand. Yasuo lifted his hands in a blocking position while concentrating just enough aura to fend off the attack. Once the punch came down and made contact with his hands, it created enough impact to force the ground beneath Yasuo to shatter with a small whirlpool of sand spreading around him. Then with a speed hard to track, Yasuo allocated some of his aura to his right leg, then instantly kicked Razor's left hand, though the latter reacted fast enough to allocate enough aura to his left hand, providing enough protection to lower the damage. Yet the impact still sent him flying a few meters to his right with a large bruise on his arm, bringing a trace of a surprise to Razor's face. A surprise that turned to astonishment once he noticed Yasuo appearing close to him with a punch coming down on him while he is still flying in the air, limiting his range of movements. A serious expression surfaced on his face as he brought his right hand to defend while allocating as much aura as he can, trying to minimize the damage, though that didn't help much as he was instead sent crashing to the ground with it shattering. Chapter 45. A serious expression surfaced on his face as he brought his right hand to defend while allocating as much aura as he can, trying to minimize the damage, though that didn't help much as he was instead sent crashing to the ground with it shattering. Yasuo didn't give him time to breathe as he flipped midair with his leg on the verge of leaving damage lethal enough to cause a hindrance to Razor. Yet someone or something appeared punching towards Yasuo, forcing him to change his attacking target. What attacked Yasuo is a large human-looking figure wearing completely white clothes with a black hat covering his eyes. There could also be noticed the number 22 on its shirt. This is one of Razor's abilities, allowing him to create 8 anthropomorphic Nen beasts, numbered from 0 to 7, which he calls devils. He can also make them fuse together, making them physically stronger. This devil is the result of the fusion of the devils number 7, 6, 5, 4. Yasuo's attack hit the devil, sending it far away, which gave Razor enough time to fall back, which is exactly his goal. Well, that was dangerous. Are you an enhancer by any chance? Razor said in a laid-back tone as he retreated, and with that, the devil that was sent flying came back to his side, only for it to separate into 4 devils with the numbers 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes, and you're not. You said you were going to go all out yet you didn't, so it's better to start the battle seriously. Yasuo said, which is weird considering he is only using enough aura to match Razor and isn't using any of his Hatsu except his control domain, though he is only using it to sense everything around him without controlling anything. This is a battle between highly skilled nin users, using mostly Ryu, allocating just enough aura to different parts of the body to achieve the intended goal. You're right, I really should. While saying that, he retracted the 4 devils next to him, then emitted 3 devils that look similar except that they're only wearing black and look exactly the same with the number 0 on their shirt. He then started emitting his aura into a 2 compressed red sphere on both hands, then he tossed one at one of the devils, who in itself tossed at the other, forming a cycle between the 3 devils. After that, Razor hurled the red aura sphere at Yasuo, then started closing the range between them. Yasuo narrowed his eyes as he concentrated on the red sphere coming towards him, wondering, I wonder if I can mimic abilities like Jing does. With the combination of my talent and domain, it should be possible, right? As for simple abilities like this one, anyone can do them with enough proficiency, though the power won't be satisfactory considering my compatibility with emission. Yasuo didn't move as the red sphere approached, though he lifted his right hand in a catching stance while still standing, while allocating most of his aura on his hand. The expected collision didn't happen, as once the sphere made contact with his hand, it simply stopped, causing no harm. In fact, it didn't even move him from his place thanks to the small amount of aura he allocated to his feet, keeping him in place. Then the red sphere dissipated. Razor narrowed his eyes as he closed the distance, starting another Ryu fight, trying to keep Yasuo busy and away from the 3 devils. Of course, Yasuo kept an eye on them since he never deactivates his control domain. He knows that he is much stronger than Razor, especially with his control domain, but nen battles aren't solely about who is stronger. Many elements come into play, elements he'll always take into consideration. What he noticed is the 3 devils passing the red sphere in a cycle at an extreme speed while forming a triangle with 3 meters between them. Each time the aura ball performs a full cycle, the number in their shirt changes. It started from 0 until it got to 2, then to 3. Once they completed the 3rd cycle, the number on their shirt changed back to 0, and with it, something else changed, that being the aura ball becoming considerably stronger. Yasuo narrowed his eyes, noticing this while playing with Razor, playing because Razor is unable to draw out his full power while his aura is split among the nen beasts. Still, someone as experienced as Razor is capable of stalling opponents stronger than him, especially with his physical capabilities, though that doesn't include Yasuo. As Yasuo easily avoided an attack, he thought, that's a dangerous ability, especially if it can increase its power infinitely, though that's unlikely. And they seem to keep 3 meters between each other. Do they have to keep that exact distance, or they just can't make it lower but can increase the distance as much as they want? Also, what will happen if the distance between them became less than 3 meters? I guess I'll test it out. With that, Yasuo increased his speed, though without the use of his domain, but that speed is more than enough. Razor could hardly react to it before he was sent flying for hundreds of meters, causing a fracture to his left arm, though that only brought a frown to his face as he emitted a white devil who caught Razor's legs, then swung him, sending him back, disappearing directly after. The moment Razor was sent flying, Yasuo spread his hands, then above them he started emitting 2 dark purple aura spheres, then hurled them towards 2 of the 3 devils. The instant he threw the 2 spheres, he followed after them, almost keeping up with them. Razor of course noticed Yasuo emitting the 2 spheres, that's why he manipulated the 3 devils to send the sphere they're tossing between each other in his direction. That happened only a fraction of a second before Yasuo's 2 spheres hit the 2 targets, eliminating them, with the 3rd one disappearing as well. Only at this time did the white devil Razor emitting grabbed his legs, swinging him back in a direction accurately calculated to receive the red aura sphere that's releasing an extremely dangerous aura. From the time Razor emitted the 3 black devils with them starting the cycles to the time they got eliminated, less than 20 seconds passed, enough for the devils to complete 18 ball passing cycles, meaning that the aura sphere got strengthened significantly 6 times, making it incredibly dangerous. Yasuo stopped once the two devils disappeared, and with them, the third also disappeared, the result of Razor dispelling it. Then he turned his head looking at Razor, who is almost about to reach the red aura sphere, or the sphere is about to reach him considering its speed is much faster. This is kind of enjoyable. Fighting someone as experienced is interesting, though I'm sure it won't be enjoyable if it was actually a challenge. The only reason I'm enjoying myself and taking it easy is due to my confidence and all my backup plans in case more game masters came. As for now, I don't even have to use any Hatsu nor make use of all my aura. Yasuo wouldn't mind a challenge, of course, as long as it's not dangerous. Yasuo casually smiled while getting into a catching stance while focusing most of his aura on his hands as if preparing to catch the Nen sphere head-on, which is extremely dangerous considering he is still only using enough aura to match Razor's. Razor, noticing Yasuo's action, narrowed his eyes, then extended his right hand, and as it was able to make contact with the red sphere, he allocated most of his aura to his left hand, then created an impact forcing him to turn 360 degrees in the air, and with him, the red sphere stayed in his right hand, turning with him. Then, making use of his turning speed, launching the sphere at Yasuo with a speed much faster than it was, leaving a gust of wind behind it. The exact moment the sphere was launched is the moment Yasuo moved, avoiding the ball. After all, catching such an attack is too dangerous. He wouldn't be stupid enough to take it head-on, which is extremely unnecessary considering that avoiding it is easier with his speed. Chapter 46. The exact moment the sphere was launched is the moment Yasuo moved, avoiding the ball. After all, catching such an attack is too dangerous. He wouldn't be stupid enough to take it head-on, which is extremely unnecessary considering that avoiding it is easier with his speed. Razor started emitting another aura ball after launching the other one. A small smile surfaced on his face, only to turn to surprise noticing Yasuo again moving at an extreme speed, avoiding the same aura sphere that just passed him, except it's coming from behind him. The one responsible is the white devil far behind him. This devil was emitted by Razor discreetly a while ago with the sole purpose of reflecting the aura sphere in case Yasuo avoided it. One of the benefits of Yasuo's domain is that he doesn't need to use Gyo in order to see Nen that's concealed by using In. As long as it's in his domain, he can always clearly sense it. So when he sensed Razor emitting a white devil with the latter retreating and keeping a distance from him, he kept an eye on it, and once he noticed it trying to stay behind him while keeping a distance of 100 meters, he naturally predicted Razor's purpose. Though it wouldn't have mattered considering he'll sense it more than 100 meters away, giving him more than enough time to avoid it. Yasuo started emitting two purple spheres in his hands while avoiding the red sphere, then directly after it passed him, he sent the two spheres following after it. The red sphere could be seen moving at an extreme speed, and just behind it, two purple spheres are following closely. The destination being Razor, who was previously ready to redirect the red aura sphere to Yasuo again, yet he was forced to avoid it seeing Yasuo's action. The spheres flew for hundreds of meters before colliding with an enormous rock hill, creating an ear-shattering explosion, erasing almost the entire hill from existence. That brought a small frown to Razor's face as he thought, his sense is monstrous, extremely proficient in enhancement and emission, and he looks quite young, yet he is much stronger than me. After all, he still didn't use any ability, nor did he use the ability that produces the purple lines, or is it not suitable for battle? Though I didn't use my other ability since it's more fatal, but I'm not sure if it'll change anything. Suddenly he narrowed his eyes, noticing Yasuo concentrating a substantial amount of aura on his hands, creating a dark bubble that surrounds them, releasing a dangerous air while saying, "I'm gonna attack, be careful or you might die." This left Razor tense as he emitted the 7 white devils, only for all of them to fuse together, forming a large human figure with white clothes and the number 28 on its shirt. He followed that by emitting a large red sphere and the 3 black devils, starting the cycles. Yasuo looked at this with a hint of amusement in his eyes as he started walking towards him, with the concentration of the bubble surrounding his hands increasing with each step he took. He is using the same abilities, he should have more abilities, yet he isn't using them. Oh well, I guess I should end this. With that, Yasuo vanished, moving at an extreme speed, reaching Razor almost instantly, though the latter already manipulated the number 28 devil to get in the way while he started emitting another red aura sphere. Yasuo just ignored his action as he attacked with both hands towards the number 28 devil. His hands that are surrounded by darkness simply went through the devil without any resistance, forcing the devil to dispel. The three black devils started to increase the distance from him while still continuing the cycle, with the red sphere getting stronger. Razor was about to hurl the aura ball at Yasuo only to notice him appearing close to him after destroying the white devil. Yasuo allocated just enough aura as to not make his punch fatal. He punched towards Razor's stomach, sending him flying away and making him spit blood. Yasuo then targeted the three black devils. He started running towards them until he suddenly crouched slightly, only for a red aura sphere to pass by. Then he continued ignoring Razor, who sent the aura ball and emitted a white devil to send him back. Yasuo noted a while ago that the three devils are keeping a large distance between themselves, so he targeted solely one devil. He reached him in an instant. By this time the red aura sphere was only strengthened one time, so once Razor noticed the devil Yasuo is going for, he manipulated the other two devils to only pass the sphere between themselves while he went to stall Yasuo, until a startled look overwhelmed his face. Hatsu Violet Rose M equals 5, T equals 0.2. He concentrated a large amount of aura on his hand before activating his Hatsu. Then before the devil can even react, he attacked with his hand, going through it, leaving a purple mark. The devil vanquished as the timer ended, though that particular devil isn't the only one that disappeared, as the other two did as well. Purple lines surfaced on them for a fraction second before vanquishing. Then both Yasuo and Razor started walking towards each other until the latter let out a sigh. You win. Carrying on the battle any further would be pointless. Yasuo nodded, then extended his hand while saying, Yasuo Zoldyck. Razor did the same. Razor, one of the game masters. It's late but nice to meet you, Razor. It was an interesting fight, stated Yasuo as his usual casual smile returned to his face. It was certainly enjoyable, agreed Razor in a friendly tone. Yasuo then cancelled his Hatsu, making all the purple lines that spread for hundreds of km disappear. You owe me one. Razor nodded while saying, I most likely have internal bleeding, so I need to go back. You know where to find me when you want to ask for the favor. He brought a card from his packet, then said, Return on Sufrabi. A ball of light surrounded him, making him fly towards the destination he said. Yasuo was left there alone with a thoughtful expression as he stroked his earring. I've become so strong. There were so many chances to kill him, even though I only used enough aura to match him. My base physical strength is better than his, especially with the combination with my proficiency in enhancement, making full use of my 100% compatibility in it, so I had to hold back a lot as to not cause serious harm. Aside from not using his abilities, he also didn't fight in his fighting style that's focusing on lethality, as he mostly used punches in the fight while only using his top speed in a few instances. A gleam of light appeared deep in his eyes. Most importantly, the results are better than expected. 35% is quite good, but only 30% for Greed Island. The most likely reason for him owning me this much is because of how the fight went and the interaction at the end. I'm a very good manipulator after all. Anyway, I should take full advantage of Greed Island for the next month. I should also get the double postcard to the dead card and see if it's possible to contact Don Freaks with it. If not, then he is still alive, which should be how genius so sure Don is alive. Double postcard to the dead is a card found in the Greed Island game. This postcard allows one to send and receive messages from the dead. After one sent the message, they'll receive a reply the next day only if the target is dead. If not, then there won't be any reply. He is planning on using it to check if Don Freaks is alive or not. Don Freaks is the supposed author of Journey to the New World, a traveler's journal about the Dark Continent. Over 300 years ago, he traveled to the Dark Continent and wrote 2 books about it, East, which is in the hands of the V5, and West, which was never found, but it's rumored he is still writing it to this day. Yasuo then concentrated his aura on his feet, then jumped, sending him hundreds of meters to the sky. He looked down on everything with a trace of a smile on his face, noticing his earrings still shining in a green light. Chapter 47. Yasuo then concentrated his aura on his feet, then jumped, sending him hundreds of meters to the sky. He looked down on everything with a trace of a smile on his face, noticing his earrings still shining in a green light. The green light appeared on them the moment he said the sentence, "You owe me," though no one can see the light but Yasuo. He gently touched the earring, making the light disappear. Then he made a perfect 2 meters domain and disappeared into the horizon. Sufrabi is a city with a beautiful line of cliffs that are ruled by pirates. The lighthouse on a headland of the city is their secret den. To be allowed to fight against the pirates, a player is required to form a team of exactly 15 people and come here together with his teammates. If they can purge the pirates from the town, they will be rewarded with a very rare and important item called Plot of Beach. Somewhere close to Sufrabi, in the woods, a hot spring could be seen with Yasuo relaxing in it. This hot spring is the result of the skincare hot spring card, which brings forth a hot spring that cures of any skin condition. Bathing in it for half an hour a day gives you skin as soft and smooth as a baby's. It has been a month since his fight with Razor. He focused mostly on increasing his brain input capacity using Angel's Breath until he felt like his brain started reaching its limits. After all, he pushed it way too much. Around the hot spring, a black small ball could be seen flying everywhere, though it has hints of other colors that seemed to be overwhelmed by the black color. It has a diameter of 5 centimeters, though what is strange is its weight that amounts to several tons. This is the ball he kept putting pressure on, increasing its density while decreasing its mass. He uses it every time he wants to push his limits, while also adding other objects, mostly metal, that formed into this small dark shape. Pushing his brain also came with other benefits. Faster thoughts processes, basically increasing his brain's processing power, though not by much. Also a noticeable increase in his domain's range by about 10 meters, reaching a radius of 125 meters around him. Yasuo then stroked his earring with a thoughtful expression. "I guess I should go since it's time. Hopefully, the pirate boxer is there. I can also get the divine script." He wore new clothes, then started heading towards the lighthouse. He directly entered, noticed it built like a gym with training tools and a place for volleyball. He also noticed a boxing ring, to which he paid more attention, ignoring all the pirates all around, or so they claimed to be. His domain scanned all the inscriptions on the ring, committing them to his memory until Razor stood in front of him. "You came, huh? Are you really interested in the Plot of Beach?" "Not really, I just wanted to visit, but I noticed something interesting." He started walking towards the ring while saying that. Only one person was on the ring training until he noticed Yasuo. He raised his eyebrows, seeing Yasuo coming towards the ring. This is the pirate boxer. He wears the standard clothing for Razor's pirates. He has thick eyebrows, big protruding ears, and a potato nose. Once he got on the ring, he started observing all the patterns on it. "Interesting. I've been studying patterns similar to these for a while now. What's this one's use, if you don't mind me asking?" "Oh, you do? Well, a friend of mine studied them thoroughly and I learned from him. This one is quite simple. It basically strengthens the nen of the one who drew it," answered Razor, who stood close to the ring. "Oh, so did you draw this one?" "No, he did," answered Razor while signaling to the pirate boxer, who is just standing there paying attention to their interaction. Yasuo then looked at the pirate boxer, saying, "How about a spar? I'd like to see it in action." The pirate boxer looked kind of unsure as he looked at Razor, waiting for his permission. The latter asked, "Is this why you came to Greed Island?" Yasuo nodded. "I'm a one-star research hunter, so I research anything I find interesting, and Greed Island is quite interesting." Razor just nodded, then signaled to the pirate boxer to agree, and the latter did while saying, "If you want to see how it works, then we'll need to have a boxing match, as that is my specialty." The boxer chose his words carefully. After all, someone that can talk to Razor that casually shouldn't be normal. Yasuo nodded with the casual smile still painting his face, not allowing anyone to see his purpose. "I don't need the gloves, and don't worry, I won't use any fatal attack." The pirate boxer's face couldn't help but twitch. Still, he remained cautious, though that didn't stop him from being annoyed with how much he is looked down on. Yasuo just stood there waiting for the boxer to start attacking with a defenseless posture as he looked down on the boxer, irritating the latter as annoyance could be seen on his face. The boxer started running towards Yasuo, then throwing a punch once he got close enough, yet Yasuo remained unmoved, though the boxer retracted his punch as a fist appeared to the right of Yasuo's face. It seemed as if it came out of a yellow nen circle. Another yellow circle could be noticed, to which the boxer's left fist went through, making it obvious that the first punch was a feint. This is the pirate boxer's ability, an emission type Hatsu, in which the pirate boxer aims his fist in any direction and creates a portal before the fist that could warp it to the desired location instantly upon punching through it, though it functions more like a portal. For Yasuo, everything seems to move slowly as he focused his domain solely on 10 meters around him, observing the boxer's every movement, especially how his nen behaves when using his ability. Then he avoided the punch that was a hair's length from him easily. The boxer took a while to realize his punch was avoided at such a close distance, to only fall back after comprehending what happened, making him stunned. After all, he thought that the punch is a guaranteed hit once he noticed Yasuo not moving at all. Yasuo didn't seem to pay any attention to him as he looked at his right hand, in which he is concentrating some of his aura in a specific manner. Then he struck using his right hand to a random direction, yet nothing happened, bringing a thoughtful expression to his face. "I'm very sure I mimicked how his nen behaved exactly. In fact, I mimicked it with perfect efficiency." Is getting hit by the ability a requirement for mimicking abilities just like Jing? I thought my domain that's allowing me to mimic and control my nen perfectly would be enough, huh? The boxer, even with his bafflement, still used his ability to attack again from a few meters away after noticing Yasuo not paying attention at all. A yellow circle appeared close to Yasuo's chest, in which the boxer's fist came through, yet Yasuo didn't react, or more like, he is allowing the punch to hit him without any nen defense at all. Amplification domain. Yasuo used his amplification domain specifically on the area where the punch is targeting. Once the punch made contact with his chest, it simply froze, not even moving Yasuo from the place he is standing on. Chapter 48. Amplification domain. Yasuo used his amplification domain specifically on the area where the punch is targeting. Once the punch made contact with his chest, it simply froze, not even moving Yasuo from the place he is standing on. The boxer retracted his ability with sweat coming down his face. He felt like he hit a hard rock, and he only got more scared once he noticed Yasuo still not paying him any attention, as he seems engrossed in his own thoughts. "This is just a spar, right? He won't actually attack me, right? I can't even use my ability again since I almost expended my entire aura pool." He was only able to release a sigh of relief once he heard Yasuo saying, "That's enough, thank you." "Oh, are you done?" wondered Razor, who came to a few conclusions after observing Yasuo. Does he need to come into contact with the target to get information about it? He is a research hunter, so he probably has a Hatsu that focuses or helps in this field. Yasuo nodded, yes. Suddenly his phone started ringing, halting their conversation. He looked at the caller ID, noticing it's Aluka. He answered only to hear her shout, "Oni-chan, I couldn't see you for the last 4 days, you don't want to see me anymore." He noticed she acts quite spoiled recently, which he doesn't mind. Also, across the last month, while it wasn't possible for her to visit him all the time considering the experiment he has been doing, she still teleports when possible. After all, she can't teleport to him when he is busy, as his wish stated. "I was busy, I will be available in about half an hour." After saying that, he hung up, then said to Razor, "Razor, it was nice meeting you, perhaps we will meet later." Yasuo then extended his hand while Razor did the same as they shook hands. "I was nice meeting you, but you won't ask for the favor now?" Yasuo shook his head, "Perhaps later." Then he left, heading towards the forest near Sufrabi, leaving Razor. Once he reached the forest, he closed his eyes, committing the feeling he got once the boxer punched him to his memory, the boxer's nen making contact with his. The feeling of his nen having a taste of that particular nen finally giving him the last piece of the puzzle. Slowly, his nen concentrated on the fist he is making in a specific manner, mimicking how the pirate boxer's nen behaves when he uses his ability. He kept on manipulating his nen for a few seconds until he felt like it's ready, then punched only for a purple portal to warp his fist to the nearby tree a few meters away. His fist gently touched the tree, then he retracted it. I needed a few seconds to execute the ability perfectly. I guess I need just a little bit more training in it until I get used to it, though it's very unlikely I will be able to mimic complex abilities. Though Yasuo then continued to experiment on the ability for a few minutes before coming to a few conclusions. First, one needs to see the place one wants to warp to, though that doesn't work on me since I can see everything in my domain, which means I can warp my attacks to anywhere in it. Second, thanks to my control domain and something I noticed a long time ago, any emission attack I use will have the same power once I release it, as long as it's within my domain with no wasted nen whatsoever. Of course, this uses a bit of control with my control domain, which in itself consumes aura. Third, it's much harder to warp beyond my domain, but possible nonetheless. Also, just a few minutes of training allowed me to execute it in about 2 seconds. So with more training, I can possibly execute it instantly, which brings me to another point. Can I warp myself completely to another place, basically teleporting? This particular ability works with a combination of mostly emission and manipulation. It creates 2 portals, one is the source and the other is the destination, though the consumption is significant depending on how far the destination is. The benefit is that I have no limit on how far I can take it. The boxer probably can use it to warp his fist solely, but I don't have that limit. So it's theoretically possible to create a portal as big as I want as long as I have the required proficiency in the ability, and perhaps I can push it much further. Yasuo stroked his earring with a casual smile on his face. The last month has been too tiring, so might as well take the next month as a vacation. I'll take it as a chance to test the limits of this ability. Near the city of Love Ia, in a beautiful-looking hill, a small table and a large chair could be seen placed there, with a handsome man sitting on the chair lazily pacing his legs on the table with his eyes closed. Lying her head on his shoulder is a cute small girl. She has long black hair, blue eyes, and has a pale complexion. She was wearing a pink kimono decorated with purple roses, boots, and a headband adorned with a smiling cartoon face. They're relaxing in silence, with only the sound of the faint winds being heard from time to time. This is how Yasuo's life has been for the past month, except experimenting on the portal ability regularly. Aluka, did you have fun? She seemed too cozy to answer clearly. We'll take a family photo once we go back, so we'll return home today. You'll teleport back and I'll follow soon after, stated Yasuo, then continued to say, also, call Nanika. There didn't seem to be any answer from her, though Yasuo knew Nanika appeared as he asked with his eyes still closed, did you enjoy yourself? While Aluka wasn't able to ask for any requests since Yasuo put his pending wish on hold, not asking for anything as of yet, he still asks her to come out from time to time, just like now. She answered only to ask after, Yasuo, pat me? Expectations could be seen on her face. He opened his eyes and looked at her with a smile, then started patting her, and she didn't shy out from showing her satisfaction. Wah, he. From his observation, Nanika is a very simple existence. She works based on her desires, with the latter serving as her guide. She is incredibly simple and pure, with no thoughts on what is evil or good, and she is to a certain extent naive in her own way, though the possibility that she is more than what she shows is still within the possibilities in Yasuo's mind. Anyway, about the wish. That got Nanika's undivided attention. He smiled, then continued, at one point in time, I'll utter a certain sentence I have in mind right now. That sentence will activate a sequence of events, starting with me teleporting to a location near a certain thing I'll be thinking of at a height I'll be thinking of. Once I teleport, that'll start a cooldown of 20 seconds before I teleport back to my lab with everything that'll be inside my amplification domain teleporting with me. If I utter that sentence again any time before the cooldown ended, then the same thing will happen. Nanika seemed blank for a while, then said, K. That brought a serene smile to his face as he closed his eyes for a while, engrossed in the satisfaction he is feeling. Then he let out a small sigh while still patting her until Aluka returned. Yasuo then stood up saying, Go now, I'll be there soon. Aluka nodded before disappearing. Chapter 49. Yasuo then stood up saying, Go now, I'll be there soon. Aluka nodded then disappeared. Yasuo lifted his hand while concentrating his aura on it, then around it, a purple portal appeared, slowly enlarging until it became large enough for him to go in it, which he did only for him to appear about 140 meters away through another portal. It's too slow, it becomes much harder to form portals the larger it is. Well, I will spend most of the year in my lab to study all of what I got here, so I will give more time to training it. Then he flew away. To create the source portal, Yasuo needs to output his aura so that it forms the portal using it, which means he can't create the source portal if his aura isn't available. Also, while he can create a portal small enough for his fist to pass through instantly, it takes much more time to create one big enough for him to pass through, and the consumption is considerable, but the potential of such an ability is limitless and Yasuo plans to take full advantage of it. Near the Zoldyck mansion, a servant could be seen standing there with a camera in his hand. He seems to be waiting while looking in a certain direction. Several people could be seen in that direction. Kikyo in a white dress and a hat. Next to her, clinging to her dress, is Kalito. He is wearing a sweater and pants. Killua, come here close to me. Maluki, stop playing with your phone until we take the family photo, Kikyo said to Killua, then continued saying to Maluki, who did as told. Aluka, look at the camera, okay? Behind them standing is Yasuo with Aluka in his arm, though she is lying her head on his shoulder dozing off. Yasuo, how about a spar later today? Suddenly asked Illumi, who is standing next to him with his arms crossed. Oh, did you create a new ability? To which Illumi nodded. Sure, let's meet in the evening in the usual sparring place, Yasuo answered. Everyone, look at the camera. Suddenly Kikyo stated, with the servant taking this as a signal to take the picture, which he did. On the year 1995, the 10th of September, in a specific hotel room in York New City, a handsome man could be seen sitting on a bed almost entirely naked, wearing only underwear. He has a lean body, though the perfectly shaped muscles are extremely visible, making him look like a perfectly shaped sculpture. His skin is extremely pale, making one wonder whether blood flows in his veins. He has relatively long black hair complementing his pitch black eyes. He seems to be looking at his phone with an air of serenity surrounding him. He continued like that for a few seconds until the phone rang, signaling a message was received. He looked at it, bringing a small smile on his face. He then stood up with the clanking sound being heard from his long chain earring on his left ear. He went on to wear his clothes until the sound of someone sounded from behind him on the bed. Are you leaving? The sound came from a beautiful slender woman, though only half her body is visible with the rest hidden under the white bed sheet, which doesn't hide her well-defined body, her silky blonde hair that hides the clear slender eyebrows that complements her pearly skin and beautiful blue eyes. Yasuo continued to wear his clothes while saying, Yeah, I'll be quite busy for the next few weeks. That brought a hint of disappointment to her face, which Yasuo noticed, bringing a smile to his face as he went close, bringing his face close to hers. He looked into her eyes with a smile, still bringing a small blush to her cheeks even after what they have done. He held her chin before sealing her lips with his in a long deep kiss that brought a small moan out of her. He ended the kiss, leaving her euphoric. Perhaps we will meet soon. He then wore a white shirt complementing the black pants while she just watched him doing so in fascination. Then he went out after taking his stuff. He walked passing by a large building with his domain, scanning everything in it. Still not here, huh? He then headed to a hotel near the building where he got the best room for 12 days. He spent most of the time expanding his domain until 10 days passed. He wore formal clothes and got everything he needs, then picked up a black briefcase, then went out. Yasuo walked through the city, a city that's bustling with people thanks to auctions happening this time of year. The city annually holds various auctions from the 1st to the 10th of September, including the world's largest auction, the Southern Peace Auction, in which the world's rarest and most valuable artifacts are accumulated in one place. He has been looking forward to when certain items will be put on auction. He is 20 years old this year, and he made full use of the last 3 years, though he spent most of it in his lab completing all of the preparation for his plans. Once that was done, he just started exploring the world and researching some auxiliary stuff, though nothing important so far. He did put some focus on finding Hermit's Scroll, but there are no results as of yet, and he had a few flings from time to time, though nothing serious, as it served more as enjoyment, and that's something they knew. Now he is here for something that's too interesting to miss and could possibly be incredibly useful, especially in the Dark Continent. He continued walking, heading towards the cemetery building, the building where the Mafia community's annual underground auction is held. This is also where the Southern Peace Auction is held. This particular auction is held from the 8th to the 10th. He bought the catalog of the auction items, which costs 12 million jenny. After looking through it, he found that what interests him will be auctioned on the last day, which is the 10th of September. He entered the building after the receptionist verified he is on the list of the guests and handed him a number plate to bid within the specific number ID. Then he made his way to the auction room, where he took the seat assigned to him. He sat with his legs crossed after putting the briefcase next to him. His domain is always active, allowing him to notice a few interesting things. A woman in her early 20s coming in his direction, or more like coming to take her seat next to him, a tall, slender woman with a heart-shaped face. She has long, fair hair, with long locks that descend past the small of her back, whereas the shortest ones curl upwards after reaching her collarbone, with her left ear bearing multiple piercings. She was wearing a tight-fitting dark suit, signifying she was here for formal business, yet it still shows her curves, which would have attracted many people if not for her most prominent trait, 2 parallel scars that run from her forehead to the left corner of her mouth, slashing across her left eye and the detached air surrounding her. As she took her seat, the 2 bodyguards just stood close, keeping an eye on anything suspicious. This is Morena Prudo, an illegitimate daughter of Nasabai Hawaii Guoru, the ruler of the Kakan Empire. Chapter 50. As she took her seat, the 2 bodyguards just stood close, keeping an eye on anything suspicious. This is Morena Prudo, an illegitimate daughter of Nasabai Hawaii Guoru, the ruler of the Kakan Empire. She noticed Yasuo just looking at her, so she assumed he is looking at her scar, yet a faint smile still painted her face as she really doesn't care. She then said, "Hi, do you need anything?" Yasuo just continued to look at her, knowing exactly who she is, a profoundly destructive person. She takes no interest in the world at large or even her own life. Her only goal is to destroy a world she perceives as unjust and utterly disgusting, which she wishes to accomplish through indiscriminate carnage. I've read about her in my past life, though in the scene she was shown, I found her personality interesting, but that's just it. While now, I find her quite attractive, especially the air surrounding her giving her quite the appeal. Is this actually my preference? He was in deep rumination, lost in his thoughts. Most importantly, her ability in the story was quite interesting, too interesting even. Her potential is infinite and her ability stands at the top with few others. Perhaps I can use her. He seemed to be thoughtful for a while, looking at her, until he heard the following, bringing him out of his deep thoughts. "Excuse me?" questioned Morena, again noticing him not responding, though the faint smile never left her, as if she has no care in the world. That brought Yasuo out of his thoughts as he gave her a smile while saying, "Excuse my rudeness." "Don't mind it, I'm used to it," she said, thinking he was focusing on her scar, until she heard the following, stunning her for a second. "I couldn't help but find you strangely attractive. How about I take you out for dinner, tomorrow perhaps?" After being stunned for a second, she frowned before answering negatively, "No." Yasuo just smiled while thinking to himself, "I was planning on teaching someone interesting Nen in order to become a 2-star hunter, but I didn't have much time and I found no one interesting enough for it to be worth it. Except her. And it appeared she didn't learn Nen yet." He started stroking his earring. "If I teach her Nen, will she bring chaos to the world, or It's tempting to find out. If she came here from the Kakan Empire, then she should be here for them, then I can possibly. Also, she will be the leader of the Heil Lee family in the future and she seems quite capable. Yup, using her sounds like a good idea. I just have to keep her on a tight leash. For someone like her, it's too easy. Is there anything easier than keeping a broken thing under a tight leash? No one wants it, they despise it in fact, so the broken thing will cling on any source of light it can see, and well, she is broken, isn't she? While Yasuo rarely lets his whims guide him, but when he does, he always considers whether he has the confidence to bear any possible consequences. If he has even the tiniest doubt, then he will eliminate that whim, otherwise, he will happily enjoy himself. Though this is not just a whim, he can see numerous benefits to having her. If she creates an ability similar to the one in the story or even better, then perhaps I can mimic it? She is talented, so I'm sure she will surpass my expectations. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the last day of the Southern Peace Auction, the day where the rarest of the rarest items will be auctioned. Let the auction begin. Once every seat was filled, the auctioneer announced the start of the auction, starting with the first item. First, we have Ronson Marco's painting Red Leaf with the starting price of 60 million jenny. The price only continued to increase considering how many people want this painting until it reached a high price of 350 million jenny. Going once, going twice, sold. The auctioneer announced closing the bid. Yasuo didn't seem to be interested in the item nor any of the next few items as he just waited patiently. The same thing for Morena next to him, as she didn't pay attention to any of the items at all, confirming his assumption. Does that mean she already joined the Heil Lee family but didn't learn Nen yet? She is here for the same item as me, that I'm sure of. Did Saranic send her? He has been shown to have several of them, so that's the most likely conclusion considering he is the benefactor of the Heil Lee family. A gleam of light appeared deep in Yasuo's eyes as he thought. The Heil Lee family is one of the 3 largest mafia families in the Kakan Empire. 4th Prince Saranic Hoei Guoru is one of their benefactors. The auction continued for a while, with several items being auctioned from ancient antiques to a Greed Island copy, with the price only getting higher until they reached the last item. Last, one of the most gorgeous colors in the world, one of the rarest jewels in the world, the Scarlet Eyes. While announcing that, a few bodyguards entered the stage surrounding a table. On it is a pair of scarlet eyeballs, each in a specifically made glass case. The scarlet eyes are a trait exclusive to members of the Korta clan. Particularly when treated as items, they are also known as Korta eyeballs. Though typically brown, the irises belonging to members of the Korta clan glow scarlet when they are emotionally agitated. If a member of the Korta clan dies in that state, his/her eyes permanently stay scarlet post-mortem, which makes them a rarity. Excluding Kurapika's, only 36 pairs exist. That is why the Korta clan was exterminated by the Phantom Troop 2 years ago, though the eyes were only announced for auction about a month ago, meaning the Phantom Troop only sold them by that time. Yasuo narrowed his eyes. My domain is enveloping a radius of 260 meters, yet I can only sense these particular eyes in my domain, so they haven't brought the rest yet, There are 9 pairs available to auction. The starting price for each pair is 300 million jenny, with every bid increasing the price by 50 million jenny. Let the bidding begin. Instantly almost everyone started bidding, with Morena being one of them. The price increased rapidly, though Yasuo made no bid as of yet. This continued until the price reached 2.2 billion jenny, with the bidder being Morena. Yasuo noticed no one is gonna continue bidding, so he lifted his plate with the number 48 to signal his bid. A bid from number 48. Any other bid? Going ONC. Number 56 bid again. Announced the auctioneer, with the number 56 being Morena, who is sitting next to Yasuo. Yasuo continued to bid, and the same for Morena, making the price go higher and higher, reaching 2.9 billion jenny, bringing a frown on Morena's face as she turned her head looking at him. The funds allocated to me amount to 24 billion. If things went on like this, then I won't be able to afford all of them. He better no go for any more of them or I'll have to. Then she gave up not bidding on this one. Going once, going twice, sold. Then the auction for the next 6 pairs of eyes continued, with Morena getting all of them with an average price of 2.5 billion without Yasuo participating in any of them. Let's start the bidding for the 8 pair. As soon as he said that, Yasuo lifted his plate while saying 3 billion. Number 48 with the 3 billion bid. Any higher bid? That made Morena frown again. Then she bid against him only for him to bid again, 4 billion. Going once, going twice, sold. Morena ended up giving up on them while planning to get the last ones at all cost, thinking he will go for the last pair, except Yasuo not bidding on the last ones at all. Everyone, you can go to the guest hall for the after-auction event. As for the bidders, please go to the main room in section 5 where the receptionist will verify your number. Yasuo picked up the briefcase and was about to start walking away when he heard Morena saying, "We didn't introduce ourselves previously, Elena." Then she extended her hand while giving a fake name. Yasuo turned around shaking her hand saying, "Yasuo. Sue, does that dinner offer still stands?" Hearing Morena ask that brought a faint smile to his face. "Absolutely, tomorrow night?" "How about tonight, right after finalizing our payment?" answered Morena with another question, a faint smile still painting her face. Yasuo feigned hesitance for a second before saying, "Sure, so shall we?" He then offered her his arm, which she took. They then walked arm in arm with section 5 as their destination.